that's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this Degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
But really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this here episode. I guess it's 50. I must have mislabeled it in the book club telegram, but episode 50 of the Degen Roundtable book club, where we're going to be covering the book Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, written by, oh shoot, what's the name? I want to say it's Samin Nosrat. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, Mrs. Samin, but super cool cat, Persian lady, grew up in the Bay Area of San Francisco, I want to say, and like simplified the process of cooking down to like the 4 main most important parts, which is salt, fat, acid, and heat. So that's what we're going to be covering today. For the folks at home who do not know who I am, my name is Will Stevenson. I'm a traveling iron worker, and I roam around the United States building TV and radio towers. And in my free time, I like to talk about cryptocurrency and self-improvement and do book clubs with these fine ladies and gentlemen and ladies such as yourself in the audience. So thank you all for joining us tonight. This is the Degen Roundtable. We go live every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So check us out here, and we will get more of the stuff going on. For the folks at home who don't know who I'm joined by, my co-host, both in this camera spot and in the far camera spot over there, is none other than Mr. zenithdi. Zenith is a budding legal expert on the Degen Roundtable, and I suppose not only is he a legal expert, but he also does some cooking in his free time. And so we're gonna get like a live action. You gotta angle it a little bit up there, Zenith. It's just off screen on the bottom one. It's like right in the place where the pick it up just a little bit.
We'll get there. We're professionals, I swear.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like it. But anyways, so Zenith is our legal analyst and government extraordinary enthusiast over here on the Degen Roundtable. He likes to talk about what's going on up at the SEC and what's going on with the legal cases and just doing a whole bunch of delving. He works a lot with our good friend Nuclear Herbs over on Twitter. Go check him out as well. I'm also joined by our producer, Mrs. McGettit, the ideal team player in the making. Mrs. Producer, for those of you guys that don't know, she is our producer for this show. She makes almost all the thumbnails and does all the social media, and then switches the cameras, brings up your chats, does all the mumbo jumbo fancy stuff behind the scenes on Canva and StreamYard. So big shout out to Mrs. Producer for taking care of all that stuff. And we're also joined by the ascending man, Mr. Nate McGettit. Mr. Nate McGettit is focused on personal improvement, financial, spiritual, physical, all that good stuff. He is focused on getting bigger and better in every regard. And then not only that, but he also reaches out to all of the cryptocurrency communities that are out there and goes and checks on everyone and sees how they're doing and then reports back here on the Degen Roundtable. So that's who we are. Let's find out what's new and exciting with our fantastic panelists. This is awesome. Zenith Broski, what is new and exciting with you? And can you tell the folks at home what exactly it is that you are doing? Because your setup is a little bit different than normal.
It might be, but first things first.
Get it.
Come on now.
See
Don't
how
break
easy
the window.
that is? You just take the cap off.
Don't scare the cat.
There we go.
Hey.
Yeah, we'll leave the cats alone for now and not try to scare them too much. But yes, we are doing the cooking stream. I thought Will was going to do a little more cooking with me, but I clearly do what I do, and I went absolutely crazy and decided to cook a 5-course meal tonight. So I started yesterday, and now we're looking to finish it today. The theme for tonight is steak. You can tell based on our lovely Wagyu nigiri that we are going to be cooking. Give me one sec. There we go.
Yeah, damn.
Holy smokes!
There we go.
You've got a lot more of. I cannot hear anything that's going on Z. Oh, he's muted himself.
Where can
Or
I
maybe
get
your
one of
head-
those? I may or may not have a purpose for something like this.
His head really good.
Sorry, gang. Is it coming through or not?
We cannot hear any of the noise, but we can see exactly what you're doing. So you just toasted the way you, right? That's that super good
Oh,
shit.
yes, sir. That is that good shit. And I'm even going to take a note out of the book. We got a little bit of hot chili oil,
Ooh.
small dab, a little bit of green onion, and down the hatch we go.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
I love it. So I do have a cooking setup going on, Mr. Zenith. It's nowhere near as fancy as yours. I simply have a single steak that I salted. I threw the salt on it about 3 hours ago. So I did grab all the water off, moisture off the outside of the steak. Normally, when you're going to salt a steak, you want to salt it about a day before you cook it. But that's what I've got going on. But let's hop over to our other panelists, see how they're doing while you are braising and flaming your way through that that super cool thing over there. We're also joined by Mrs. Producer Forget It, and also Mr. Forget It. How are you guys doing? Start however you guys please, because I know you guys got a unique microphone set up over there. What's new and exciting with you guys?
Well, I just got done yesterday talking about the launching of Project Pi, which ultimately means that you can go and validate for half the amount of pulse. And along with validating for the pulse, you also then get the PPY 404s, which, as you know, is half tokens, half NFTs. So if you stake those NFTs, you then are able to start yielding more PPY, but then also you're able to yield more of the ST pulse, which means you're just yielding more pulse ultimately. And because you've also locked up your pulse that way, you're able to pull out the free token that is the ST PLS, which ultimately means you didn't actually lock up your pulse, you just pulled it out. So it's called liquid staking, and you can use that to move around. And because of this, today I just got done making right around 26 to 30 transactions, moving all my stuff around, all my money printers around to be able to start staking. So yeah, it's a good old time. I was also doing a very, very in-depth dive into Pulse Chain and kind of what's going on the chain itself, with a lot of deployers and different types of tokens. I almost got myself into a rug token. That was fun. I literally I was like, ooh, I'm gonna throw a couple of dollars at this, and I went to click the button. It was like enable. I enabled my DAI, and then as soon as I went to go swap, it was like, oh, the price changed. You can't do it anymore. I was like, oh, why is that? And I went and looked back at the thing, and it literally liquidity went from 160,000 to 0.
Oh my goodness, damn. Well, it's a good thing that you got caught up there and snagged a little bit. I have a quick question for you before we toss it over to Mrs. Producer, and that is, are you going to be doing a deep dive with any of the folks from Project Pi? I know we both spoke to them.
I've got two
over at yeah.
So on the Ascending Man, I have the original one that deep dives into the actual project itself with the technicals. But then the one that I just did yesterday, they have added on AI agents. That's going to make it a lot easier, where these agents are actually going to do all the staking and everything for you. All you need to do is just tell it what your goals are. And then they also have the 404s, is a brand new technology itself that they've added in too. And so you actually have a triple money printer where you literally stake your pulse, okay? And in staking it, you're not going to lose it, or you don't have to worry about not being able to unstake it like you do with Hex, because you ultimately pull it out via the ST pulse. And when you pull it out via ST pulse, then you can put it into anywhere you want to go with it, whichever we want to do, 9-inch or PHUX, wherever you want to go with it, and you can yield from there. But then you also can stake the NFTs themselves, the 404s, and you get yield out of that as well. So the amount of money printers all in this system is quite insane. And ultimately, what we really in depth talked about during that stream yesterday was how big of a deal this is going to be for Pulse Chain. and kind of what entails the actual project itself and all that. But you know, neither here nor there. All you simply got to do is go to YouTube, The Ascending Man, and you can go ahead and watch it for yourself, because it's one of the most important projects on all of Pulse Chain. I call it the lifeblood, and they're starting to run with that now. So yeah, it's the lifeblood of Pulse Chain.
That's good, bro. I like it. Most excellent. Most excellent. So there's a lot of new things going on over at the Ascending Man channel. We love to hear it. Mrs. Producer, what is new and exciting with you?
Well, I feel very boring in comparison to everyone else tonight. We've got two guys ready to cook up a super amazing looking meals over here, and then we got Nate, who's like just, I don't even know. I can't re-describe what he just said, but y'all heard him. So, and then there's me, who's just like, I went out looking for Pokemon today, and I didn't find anything, so now I am sad. And that's about it. That's what's going on with me today.
Oh, is that like when you say going out and looking for Pokemon, you're talking about Pokemon Go, right?
No, the newest set that was released for the card game has been it's a mess, but it's being very heavily scalped. Like, people are buying them up as soon as they get into the stores and then selling them like on eBay and whatever for like triple the price. So everybody who's like trying to collect is trying to get it at the actual stores before these people, and so it's just been a massive mess since it came out on, I think it was the 16th of January now. And so that's what I did today. I went around looking for that on top of grocery shopping. I did not intend to go card hunting today, but after I got back with groceries, I'm like, you know what? I got like 2 hours to kill until Soren gets home, so I just kind of wandered around and had no luck. But I got to talk to my my local card store. They're really cool people, so it was nice going there and just seeing them as usual.
Well, excellent, excellent. I love to hear it. Zenith, just so you know, we have muted you from this side because things were starting to get pretty loud whilst you were putting things in a pan earlier. So if you have something to say, or if you have said it, okay, yeah, I can see you can unmute yourself. I know that sometimes when we mute from producer side, there's some difficulties. So what have you got? What have you got going on right now? Describe for the folks at home, and then we will jump on over into chat shoutouts and then do a book summary.
Absolutely. So what I'm doing is I'm making Wagyu nigiri. This is American Wagyu, not the fancy Japanese stuff, but it is very good. And what happens is that this Wagyu has a lot of fat that's marbled into it. So when you cook it up, it renders really quickly. And inside the mouth, it feels very buttery, very velvety, and just really smooth. So to celebrate, I've paired a nice American whiskey with our American Wagyu. And
So whiskey.
Oh, it's fantastic. So in the spirit of the book that we're talking about here, we got salt, fat, acid, heat. So with the nigiri, there's actually a little bit of rice vinegar on the sushi rice that helps make it what it is. There's also a little bit of sugar too to balance it out. The fat and the heat obviously come through the Wagyu. That's where you get a lot of that. And then the salt is the salty meat as well. Perfect. And it's just a good blend. And I got to say, this is a hell of an appetizer. So we're starting pretty strong over here.
This is excellent. I love it. That is beautiful. All right, real quick. So for the folks at home who have not read this book, I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick little chat GPT summary for you guys. But basically, before I go through the chat GPT, the essence of what the book is, oh, actually, no, excuse me. I have to do chat shoutouts before we do the actual summary. But for the folks at home who haven't read it, I highly recommend it. If you guys don't know anything about cooking, or if you're already a pro chef, I still recommend reading this book in both cases. If you have never done anything cooking, this is a great place to start because it teaches you the fundamentals. And if you already know a whole bunch of stuff about the book, then it's good like preventative maintenance education that just keeps you up to date on your understanding of the way things work. And you might learn a thing or two. So a lot of the information in here, she said, is common knowledge among chefs, or it's like intuitive or tacit knowledge. And she just turns it into explicit knowledge in this book. So super awesome. So before we get into the components of the book, it is time for, I gotta get my paper out so we can do chat motherfucking shout outs, ladies and germs, a part of the show where we appreciate you guys by reading out your chats that you guys send us as we are streaming live, and we love the audience interaction. So Mrs. Producer, if you would be so kind, let's go ahead and pull up our first chat shout out. We've got none other than Mr. Kenturian 54X saying, "What's up, Degens? What's up to you too, sir? It is good to see you." Mr. Kenturian, our favorite Oregonian pilot, in his free time likes to farm some things. Good to see you, broski. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. I did not see the time. Actually, let me take a look. Mr. Kenturian put that in at 4:07 p.m. Central Time. So that was 3 hours ago, long before we thought about starting the stream. So excellent work. You are the first one in today. Followed up very shortly by none other than Funkmaster Hex, the Trailer Park Boys Julian of the Degen Roundtable and cryptocurrency space. Cheers to you, Mr. Funkmaster Hex. He says, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to you too, sir. It is good to see you, amigo. Next up, we've got our good friend, Your Health Unplugged, Dr. Alan Chen. ¿Qué tal, degenerados? You are all welcome to apply your new culinary knowledge in my kitchen. Maybe future content. Ooh, I could see that happening. Yes, I might go hang out with Dr. Chen, and we could make some cool steak making videos and stuff. But he actually, so for those of you that don't know, Dr. Alan Chen, he runs some content creation that centers around doing preventative health maintenance and staying away from the modern medical industry or the how should I say, the like the corporate flywheel that is modern medicine, and just the terrible system of getting sucked into the pharmaceutical churn and burn, like get you on some pills, get you subscribed for life. So one of the things that he talks about on his shows is eating clean, and a big part of that is eating like grass-fed beef found locally from farmers. And so I've hung out with him in real life sometimes, and he makes some delicious steaks. So shout out to you, Alan. Good to see you in the chat. You should all go check out Your Health Unplugged. Super cool doctor, super cool friend of mine. We interviewed him last week on Wednesday. It was a great time. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got none other than the #1 cheerleader in the cryptocurrency, specifically Pulse Chain and Hex Space. We've got Tam Tam saying, "What's up, fam? What's up to you, Tam Tam? Good to see you. Glad we could have you on the stream and with us here today. Always good to see the familiar faces." After that, we've got no one other than Evil Betty from the I don't know if you guys have ever seen oh shoot, what is it? Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Like, yeah, my name's Betty. So super funny video, Steve Odekirk, but I don't know if that's who this Betty is. Welcome, Betty. It's good to see you. Hello. Right back on to you. Oh wait, no, that's Goofy's kid. I can't remember Goofy's kid's name. That's who that
Maximilian or Max.
Max. Okay, yeah, that's right. Max the child Goofy. Good to see you, Betty. Welcome to the stream. Glad that we could have you. Next up in the chat shoutouts, we've got Hex Glenn. Ooh, actually, Mrs. Producer, we've got another one before that. One of the very own from the Degen Roundtable. I don't know if we shouted him out at all. Yes, Mr. Brendan. Thank you. Mr. Brendan of the Degen Roundtable. Degen's cook. For those of you guys that don't know, Brendan the Anonymous Bean, another Degen Roundtable member, is a fantastic cook. He cooked me one of the best steaks I've ever had in my life when I was down hanging out with him in Miami. So go hang out with him. Go have some good times. If you guys are coming to the Degen Roundtable meetup in Miami, we're going to have a great fucking time. That's going to be happening sometime Q3, Q4 of this year, I believe. Presupposing the bull market works, but if it doesn't, then hey, I guess we'll just be a bunch of broke bums hanging out underneath an overpass asking for money. It'll be a good time. But that's the Degen Roundtable meetup. Is probably going to be in Miami Q4, Q3 sometime of 2025. So good to see you, Brendan. And yes, Mr. Zenith is cooking, and I've got a really shitty setup here, so we'll see if I have time to do some cooking as well. But next up for the chat shoutouts, we've got Mr. Hex Glenn. Hey guys, cool, a cooking cam. Yes, good to see you, Mr. Hex Glenn. Welcome to the stream, buddy. Another Degen Roundtable audience member extraordinaire. What are you getting out now, Zenith? He's got a kick-ass cooking cam over there going on, and it looks like he's going to be preparing some bread and olive oil, perhaps, and something else. Care to give us a quick insight into what that... Actually, hang on, Zenith, before you start talking, we got one more chat shout-out that we're going to do, and then I'll toss it over your way. We've got Arceus. Oh, hello, Arceus. It's good to see you. I read all the way up to acid, purchased some proper salt, and stopped using my apparently too old olive oil. This is officially the most I've ever been influenced by a cookbook. Yes, Arceus, you're absolutely right. Get yourself some proper salt. Oh, wow, this is a green... It doesn't show up on the... That's too cool. I'm using Malden sea salt flakes because that's what I'm used to. Something to consider with salt is if you get sea salt, you're going to have those microplastics in it because it comes from the ocean. The only way to avoid microplastics is to get it from, like, salt that is mined out of the earth. So like Himalayan rock salt or any other salt that is like pulled out from under a mountain or something. If it's sea salt, if it's evaporated, whatever the heck, then it might have microplastics or what's the other thing? I don't know, some sort of dangerous water thing in it. But like it might not be a big deal. Who knows? Has the research been done? I don't fucking know. But
microplastics are an issue. That's the true thing.
yeah, I just don't know. I don't know what the dosage level is, right? If we're like, getting close to the LD50 after 10 years of consumption, or if it's like, hey, this will be a problem after 1,000 years of eating it, so it's like you can eat a very small little tiny bit of rat. I'm not actually, you know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to talk about things you can eat that are poisonous because, some assholes might go and fucking do it. By the way, none of what we talk about here on the Degen Roundtable is financial advice, is cooking advice, is health advice. We're just a bunch of assholes talking about our feelings on the internet. So if you dinguses in the chat, if y'all listen to us and take what we're saying as gospel, then like, please don't. We're just a bunch of normal people. We're just like hanging out and having fun and talking with each other. But that's some good opinions there, Mrs. Arceus. Read all the way up to the acid. Yep, getting the proper salt and throwing away the rancid olive oil. Yes, the olive oil does not last. I think after, I want to say, they were saying in the book like 6 months or 12 months or something like that. But yes, olive oil does go bad. It is anything that's organic will go bad after a certain period of time. But that's crazy. Oh, and we've also got my father in the chats. My father, I want to eat a rat because Will said I should.
Yeah, that sounds about right there.
Shout out to my dad. My dad's in the chat. Good to see you, Dad. Welcome to the stream. Love to have you here. And you should probably not eat a rat. Actually, I think, Dad, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're on a carnivore go through right now. So my dad's over there, up there where he's at, getting shredded, getting ripped, and eating healthy. So we love to see it. Zenith, I'm going to toss it over to you to explain what you're doing at this stage of the moment before we go into the summary of the book. Can you tell us what's going on, good sir?
Yes. So, got 5 courses planned. We already saw 1, and all of them are involved steak because I love steak, and I want to show how you can be versatile with it and include all of the different aspects of the book. I will say, though, let's see. The book is a little bland. It could probably use some salt. At least the intro page, anyways.
Jesus,
yeah.
Bro.
So tonight we have a beautiful ribeye that we will be turning into a steak à poivre. We already had our beautiful Wagyu nigiri. Up next, we are making an Italian beef sandwich. This is braised Italian beef with my giardiniero. This is vinegar, olive oil, and some veggies. It is delicious, and it is schmack, like pure schmack. And on top of that, we have some fresh homemade bread to put it on. And then finally, last but not least, we're letting it cool right now, but we are doing a mini beef Wellington, and there's a special secret dessert that is our 5th meal, or 5th course, excuse me. Yes, sir.
This is beautiful. I like it. Well, excellent.
This is going to be a good time.
That is a good-looking good time over there, my friend. Absolutely fantastic. All right, now we're going to go ahead and tell the folks at home a little bit about this book. So for those of you guys that have not read Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, I'm just going to go ahead and say it's a freaking awesome book. So definitely read it. But here is the summary from ChatGPT, because ChatGPT does an excellent job of summarizing things. All right, let's see. So Samin Nosrat, sorry, Persian lady. You have a beautiful name. I just don't know how to pronounce it. Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, Mastering the Elements of Good Cooking is both a cookbook and a cooking philosophy guide, emphasizing the 4 fundamental elements that make food delicious. Rather than just providing recipes, Nosrat teaches readers how to cook intuitively by understanding how each of these 4 elements interact. The book is structured into 4 regions, each dedicated to one element, and is supplemented with beautiful illustrations, techniques, and a few recipes to enforce the lessons. So we're going to do a little analysis on each of the elements. The first one, salt. Salt amplifies flavor. That is its primary, that is salt's primary job. It's a flavor enhancer. All right. So salt enhances and balances flavors by drawing out the natural taste of ingredients. Learning when, how much, and what kind of salt to use is crucial. So the analysis, she breaks down the science of salt's effect on food, from seasoning meats ahead of time to using salt in water as a brining mechanism to improve texture and taste, or things like, or you can blanch vegetables. and other such things. Her approach helps readers overcome the common fear of under or over salting. The emphasis on tasting and adjusting seasoning is practical and empowering. This is another thing in the book that ChatGPT has glossed over, but she mentions in the book, you will often see in recipes it says season to taste. What that means is you adjust the amount of salt that you put in by, or seasoning just means salting, right? It doesn't mean like you ground some pepper in it, you put some cumin and turmeric, you sprinkle some thyme. That's not what seasoning means in respect to cookbooks. It means you add or you don't add salt to whatever level you find acceptable. And the basic gist of it is that during the cooking process, it's harder to oversalt food than it is to undersalt them. So when in doubt, add a little bit more and then taste it, and then add a little bit more and taste it. And if you find you've added too much of the salt, then all you got to do is just add a little bit more of the food stuff or whatever the base is of the food. So like, or if it's on the surface of a food, then you rinse it off. So like if you're salting a meat and it's too salty on the outside, then you just wipe that shit off. If you've put too much salt inside of the water that you're boiling your noodles with, then you just add more water. So that's essentially the way that salt works right there. Next, she goes into the fat. So fat creates texture and carries flavor. So fat is the thing that basically determines how the food feels in your mouth and the way that it cooks, right? So fat affects mouthfeel, adds richness, and adds a vehicle for flavors. Understanding different fats, so like butter, olive oil, animal fat, etc., allows for better cooking decisions. Nosrat explores how fats interact with food in different cultures, emphasizing their role in sautéing, baking, and emulsifying. The contrast between fats in French, Italian, and Asian cuisines give users insight into cooking styles. The section also highlights how to choose the right fat and how it can enhance a dish's depth. So the fat part's actually pretty cool. So Zenith was using the fat from the Wagyu burgers earlier. I'm going to be using fat from butter when I cook my steak here later on. And that's just some of the ways that you can use fat. You know, olive oil, that's another good one. They didn't mention coconut oil in the ChatGPT analysis, nor did they mention, there was the ghee, which is clarified butter. So it's butter that you can cook a little bit hotter. But that is the meat and potatoes of fat. Next up, we got acid, the third element. So acid balances and brightens and provides contrast and sharpness, balancing rich or salty flavor. Common acidic ingredients include citrus, vinegar, and fermented foods. So things like, a lemon or some sort of alcohol or, like white wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar. There's a whole bunch of things. She's actually included a PDF with the book. So I'm actually, I should have added all the PDFs into the book club chat. I meant to add pictures in there earlier, but oh well.
One fun little Easter egg, if you get the book in paper, is she even has a little fold-out page. This is the continuum of every pH of every major item that you might cook with. So we got like lime down at 2.07 pH, Dijon mustard 3.5, sauerkraut 3.64, ketchup and honey 3.9, and then you even get to distilled water is 7. So remember, when it comes to pH, 1 is acidic, 16 is basic. So 7 is your pure water, and then some things that are even on the basic side, we have eggs and baking soda. So that's always fun to keep in mind. And then outside of that, there's even an entire color wheel about how the acid flavors taste and what they feel like in your mouth and where they come from too. It's really interesting.
I have those pictures from the PDF that came with the Audible, and I'd screenshotted them with my phone. And I was going to throw them in the Telegram, then I totally forgot my show prep and everything. But I have those accessible. So if you guys are interested in learning more and you don't want to buy the book, like the book is cheap. I don't know what it costs in real life, but on Audible it was like $10 or something. So get yourself a copy of this book. You can get the downloaded PDF for free, or you can get my pirated information inside the Degen Roundtable Telegram. I suppose I could, if I was a generous person, I could drop a link to the Degen Roundtable Telegram chat in the chats below. Oh, I am also streaming to Facebook, so I have to drop it in the YouTube side. So you guys can check out the Degen Roundtable Telegram at that link, Mrs. Producer, if you'd be so kind as to, there you go. Excellent. So t.me/Degen Book Club, for those of you guys that are just listening on the audio version, that is where you can find all of these PDFs and all of these thoughts and other little book synopses and other content creators' thoughts on this book. So all of that stuff that Zenith was just talking about, you can find over in the Degen Roundtable as soon as I put it in there in the book club area. So let's see. Oh yeah, I was talking about acid. So there's a whole the TLDR is there's a whole bunch of acids, but basically like what acid does is and this is from ChatGPT. It's a game changer for home cooks as it highlights how a touch of acid can elevate dishes. Samin explains how different acids pair with ingredients, teaching a skill often overlooked in basic cooking guides. The emphasis on tasting and adjusting acidity gives cooks more confidence in fine-tuning their dishes. I think one of the examples that she gave was she had some sort of she had some sort of emulsification, which is like a sauce essentially, and she brought it to the lead soup, and he to the lead cook guy, and he tasted it, and he's like, pour a splash of vinegar in it, and she's like, what? My creamy soup? We're not gonna put this fucking vinegar in my shit. And then she's like, all right, I'm gonna take a separate teaspoon, and I'm just gonna add a drop of it in there just to like, so I don't ruin the whole batch. And she did, and apparently it was like, whoa, my God, this shit fucking changes the entire thing. So she did as he instructed, added like a spoonful of vinegar to the entire mixture. And apparently like it has a way of just like bringing out all the hidden stuff, much like salt does, but in a different style. So one of the things that I noticed in the PDF for the book is that some of the like cheese is one of the things that does the salt, it does the fat, and it does the acid, which is pretty cool because cheese is slightly acidic, and it's also got a little bit of salt in it oftentimes, and cheese has fat in it. So it's like you can this is basically, this is like why fucking everyone loves cheese, because it's got like three of the four elements,
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
why we Wisconsinites are obsessed with it.
bro, like, yeah, everyone loves cheese. You'd be hard pressed. Actually, no, I take that back. Asian people don't like cheese. The Chinese don't eat cheese is an old song by CKY, and it has to do with like Chinese culture, a lot having to do with the people that ate cheese were considered barbarians and like Mongols and stuff. So like drinking goat's milk or whatever. So a lot of Chinese and Asian people are lactose intolerant, and that's why you almost never find cheese in Chinese meals. Yes, my father, cheese, excellent. So yeah, cheese carries the salt, it carries the fat, it carries the acid. So like it doesn't carry a whole lot of acid, but it does have a good bit. And the longer you let the cheese age, that's like the difference between a sharp cheddar and a mild cheddar, is how long it sits there and acidifies. So the longer that the cheese ages, the more acidic it gets, and the more like bitter and sharp and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool the way that.
Speaking of acid, this is actually a good example of a dish that I think really utilizes acid very well to like tie it together and also give just a good amount of just like impact to it. So this is in a Italian beef sandwich. It's from Chicago, and it's actually from like the real early days of the United States, or I guess rather the late 1800s, early 1900s. Basically, they took the cheapest meat, they cut it as thinly as they possibly could, and then layered on a bunch of other stuff to make it taste really good. Part of that was the giardiniera. The giardiniera is pickled vegetable, so it's a lot of vinegar, so that's a lot of acidity. But when you combine that with the richness of the beef and especially the sauce, because this is almost like a French dip. Like this is a wet sandwich. So when you add the acidity to the wetness and the velvetiness and the sweetness and the richness, it just really, really comes through. And it's got some serrano peppers in there, so it's got some kick too, which I really like.
That is excellent. So for those of you that don't know who have just joined us, Mr. Zenith is cooking along as we do this stream. And so far he's gone through Wagyu nigiri, which as I recall is Wagyu draped over top of rice with some, oh man, we can hear you breathing pretty good, Zenith.
Oh, sorry, bud. I'll mute it.
Just that good. Just that good, man.
It does sound good. Excellent. Yeah, for the folks at home who are just now joining us, Mr. Zenith is taking us through a 5-course meal, all of it being beef-based. And the first thing that we've gone through is Wagyu nigiri, which I'm pretty sure is Wagyu meat roasted over top of a bed of rice with some soy sauce and some other good stuff in it. And that looked absolutely delicious. He described that, and we actually got to see the whole braising process. That was pretty cool. And now he's eating this delicious sandwich. So that's fucking excellent, broski. Good to hear. All right, guys, the final part of the book, we're going to get to it. Number 4, if I do it the Germanic way, is the heat. So the heat is basically like the most important part of cooking, because if you don't put in the heat, then you're not cooking. Like if it doesn't get hot, then it's not cooked. That's just a cold dish. So heat determines the final outcome. So from ChatGPT, heat controls how food is transformed during cooking, influencing texture, moisture, and depth of flavor. Understanding conduction, convection, and radiation is key. So conduction meaning like thing touches thing and takes heat from it. So like you put your French toast on a pan and it touches the pan and gets heated immediately. You've got convection, which is like, if I'm not mistaken, it's hot air touching the thing. And then radiation is like you're cooking something over a grill and it's getting the radiant heat. So those are the different types of heating. In this section, she provides a solid foundation in cooking techniques like roasting, braising, grilling, and frying. Samin's ability to break down the science of heat makes it accessible, helping readers grasp why different cooking methods yield different results. The focus on patience and control in applying heat makes this section particularly useful. So, yeah, I mean, the heat part is important in that, if you cook toast in a bowl full of water and the water is very hot, you're not going to get the delicious crunchy toast the same way you would as if you put it in a toaster oven where it sits next to a piece of glowing hot metal. So she talks about the different methodologies by which you can heat things up and what it produces. Like, for instance, when you fry something in oil, what you're doing is you're heating the oil up to be the thing that cooks the thing that you're trying to cook. So when you like deep fry French fries, right? It's not French fries sitting on a hot pan. It's French fries sitting in hot oil. The hot oil completely envelops the thing that it's cooking, and then it cooks it very fast from every single direction, and it creates like a super smooth surface. When you have a pan, or you're cooking something on like a griddle or whatever, it does not have even surface at the microscopic or at the molecular level, and so there's going to be uneven heating on all things. So that's why when you just throw a piece of meat in a pan without any sort of coating liquid or something in there to cook it inside of, then you will get a different result than if you like fill the pan up, an eighth of an inch or a quarter inch with some sort of fat or some sort of agent that will cook the food differently. So yes, looks like we have had a gentleman or two gentlemen join us since we last did chat shoutouts. Mrs. Producer, looks like we got RH Max and Mr. Slide. Mr. RH Max says, "Sudo, make me a sandwich," which is apparently a Linux joke. I don't know much about Linux. Perhaps my father will appreciate that. So, Dad, there's a Linux joke for you. That is most excellent. And then we've also got Mr. Slide 180, my good friend Josh, who made this bottle of what is it? It's mead. Blueberry mead or raspberry mead or some sort of berry mead that I'm currently drinking right now. So shout out to my good friend Josh, Slide 180, RH Max. And also we've got Falcon Crypto has just joined us, Mrs. Producer. Hello, fellas, says Falcon Crypto. It's good to see you, Falcon Crypto. Today we're talking about cooking. So not only are you getting some information on Project Pi launching their product, but also you're going to learn a little bit about salt, fat, acid, and heat. So it's going to be excellent. It appears that my father has appreciated that pseudo sandwich joke. So, RH Max, you and my father would probably get along quite well. You guys are actually in the. What's up?
I think Zenith liked that joke too. I saw his little head pop back into camera.
I don't understand it. Zenith, can you explain that to me? Because I don't get it. What does pseudo make me a sandwich?
I'll be honest, I don't really understand it either, but I just know that RH Max is currently on his crusade against Windows and Apple, and he says that Linux is the security of the future.
I mean,
or the now, if you will.
I will agree that Linux is superior from like a sovereignty position, not necessarily from a marketing position or a clean user understandable experience. I would have to like sit down and spend a lot of time learning the Linux system in order for it to function. So like I suppose that Microsoft and Mac both have like the first in best dressed kind of deal going on, so they occupy market share there. But I will definitely agree that Linux, from what little I know about it, is the optimal operating system. And and there's some others,
Yeah,
Ubuntu
it is.
or something.
Did you know? So what actually happened with Linux was that it was Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs that built Apple, right? But then Steve Jobs kind of just took it over, and Wozniak didn't like the direction it went because he was all about self-sovereignty and the power of the computer. And so he went and actually created Linux. And of course, when you go to computing power and privacy and just overall best type of computer, it is going to be Linux. However, it's not exactly user friendly, and that's why Steve Jobs, they kind of had that falling out, was because Steve Jobs said, hey, we need it to be user friendly as well. So yeah, that's where they just ended up separating, creating their own thing.
Okie dokie. This is good to know. I just asked you in the private chats, Nate, can you turn up your volume by 10% and we do a sound check? Because you're coming in a little bit softer than you normally do. Can we get a sound check real quick?
It might be a little bit further away. Yeah, I turned it up just a little bit now.
Okay. It's a little bit better. Can we go up just a smidgen more? And a sound check? So that,
Oh, it should be good now. It should be good now.
All right. It might be my headset, but Mrs. McGettit and Zenith were both coming in a little bit louder than you. So no sweat. I can still hear you, and I'm sure the audience and the folks at home can hear you as well. We've also got another gentleman has joined us, or perhaps lady, Mr. or Mrs. Crypto Crossfire, a little nice pseudo RM-R-F/path/home. I don't know what that means, but
okay, you dev. Yeah, the
cool
dev's
stuff.
cooking right now. The dev's cooking along with us.
The dev's fucking cooking. Good to see you, Crypto Crossfire. Welcome, welcome. I recognize that name for somewhere, but I don't know. My dad's saying, oops, don't do that. I don't know what this all means, but the programmers are having fun. So this is excellent. I'm glad to see you guys are enjoying yourself. All right. So we're going to go ahead and hop into the questions portion of the show, where I'm going to ask you guys questions about the book. And I asked ChatGPT to assist me in this, to come up with questions that I can ask both people who have, so it's relatable to the folks at home who have not read the book, and so we can still cover a good bit of stuff that's going into the book. So my first question for the four of you, and I would like to actually hear from Mrs. McGettit if you don't mind, but the question is, actually I'll read through. No, I'm just going to read one at a time, so that way I don't just overload you guys. But the question is pretty simple. If you could instantly master one cooking skill, what would it be? Like an example being like perfecting the seasoning, or getting really good at doing meats, or like just be a super good at like doing sauces or baking cakes, or I don't know, making really good soups or something. Mrs. McGettit, if you had one sort of cooking thing that you would love to be like your thing that you just always fucking nailed out of the park every single time, what would it be? And then you guys also think about this as well. What would be your
definitely cooking the meats right? Getting that
cook the meats
flavor
right?
in there. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. That was gonna be mine. So you took that one from me. Meat is basically the reason to live, if you ask me. Nate, what do you think, broski? What is, if you do you do any sort of cooking, Nate, or do you forward that mostly to Mrs. McGettit, or do you enjoy hopping behind the grill or something from time to time?
Well, I can tell you right now that if there was one skill with cooking that I could just instantly learn and just get perfect every single time, it would definitely be boiling water.
Boiling water? We can't burn it. It's boiling. It's good.
You say that it's a half joke, but at the same time, if you fuck it up bad enough, you can really fuck up boiling water. Ask me how I know.
How do you do? Okay, I'll buy.
Well, you're like, yeah, I'll totally go make some ramen, and then you're doing that, and you're like, oh, I got to go back to the laptop for work, and you run back, and then 20 minutes later, you're like, I was doing something, and you run downstairs and you go, oh yes, I'm clearly just preheating this empty pot.
Yep.
And that's why it also smells like burnt metal too.
Oh boy. That's what about you, Z? What would be your thing? Or actually, Nate, was that your actual answer, or was that just like a
I mean, it's a half joke for me, but the reason why, and I was just gonna give a quick little tidbit on this, I haven't actually cooked for myself since college back in 21, or since I was 21 years old, and that's because of this thing over here.
You're welcome.
I hear that Mrs. McGettit is a good cook. I've heard nothing but just awesome excellence from all that. Like, I've known you guys for over 2 years now, and just nothing but good stuff coming from this man about Mrs. McGettich's cooking. So
Yeah,
that's good to know.
we have one rule, right?
Yeah.
So the entire house is my house except for
Yeah.
one room, and that's
Oh
the
yeah,
kitchen.
that's
Yep,
the
yep.
kitchen.
She will literally say, "Get the fuck out of the kitchen," to me.
Kitchen. That's
Exactly.
awesome. Have you ever had any interest in like in doing any grilling or any sort of like barbecuing or smoking or making like beef jerky or anything?
No, honestly, like I'm the guy who goes out fishing. I go out hunting, right? I gather up that meat. That's the fun stuff for me.
Yeah.
I can sit there and I can clean a fish and grill it right there. Make a fish sandwich, right, with some breadcrumbs and breadcrumbs, certain seasonings, as well as flour. I can cook all that up with just a little bit of oil. But that's more like kind of like out in the wild type of stuff. When it comes to actual cooking in a kitchen, I don't touch that stuff. That I just leave that all entirely to Mrs. McGettit over here.
Excellent. I'm asking the folks at home too in the comments what cooking skill would you guys want to master if you could master any. So feel free to throw them in the comments and I will be happy to read them out. Zenith, I want to toss it over to you, broski. What if you could master any sort of cooking skill or something like that? What would be the thing that you would want to do?
If I could master any sort of cooking, I think it might be a little obvious what it would be, which is that trying to get a perfect medium rare every time, it's an art. It really is. And it takes years to acquire. But honestly, some of the baking stuff is the stuff that I do the least. So if I could figure out how to get real consistent with that, that'd be fantastic. In particular, I love tiramisu. Like, favorite dessert ever. That is a notoriously hard thing to cook. Partly because it's mascarpone cheese with like egg whites over a double boiler where you can't touch the water, but use water in a pot to create steam to make a bowl, and you have to whisk it properly. And you also have to make lady fingers, which is a very, very delicate little like bread stick thingy that is the basis of the cake. And then just trying to do all that and then also get it to set properly. So that way, when you want a slice, you get a slice as opposed to a puddle of tiramisu. It's hard to do, but when done right, it is damn good.
Okay, so your answer is twofold then. That perfect medium rare, and then also baking or tiramisu specifically.
Tiramisu specifically, but it falls into the baking category. Like the bread that I made today, I've done that one enough where I can get it down pretty good every time. I am a heathen, and I use volume instead of baking with grams or mass, if you will. So it doesn't come out the same every time, but you know what? It's close enough.
Okay. That is a good skill to have. I'm going to take it back to my cop-out answer of making meat. Specifically, the thing that I want to be able to do is make steaks in any climate and place. Now, I guess like I live mobile all the time, right? So most of my cooking is done with one of these like, little Walmart, I don't even know what this is called. I think it's oh shoot. It even has the Walmart.
Isn't that like a little griddle thing?
Yeah, it's just a little power griddle, right? So like you plug it into the wall and it heats up the bottom of this pan. Like this is the heating element right here. And it literally just heats up this pan and you cook in it, and that's it. So like that's what I use the most when it comes to cooking steaks. But I also want to know how to do steaks. Like one of the things I've always wanted to learn is sous vide, which is where you take the steak, you put it in like a plastic bag, you vacuum seal it so that like the plastic is sucked up super tight, and then you stick that plastic bag in some warm water, and it sits in there for like 5 hours, and the warm water is kept at a very, very, very regulated temperature. And that's the way that I understand restaurants do their steaks, is they have a whole bunch of different tubs with different like, rare, medium rare, well done, all that stuff, all those different types of cooking temperatures, and the meats just basically sit in there. And then when it's time to serve the steak to the customer, they pull it out of the sous vide container of the respective temperature. I want to say that like rare is like 129 degrees. Medium rare is like 140 degrees, and then well done is probably like 150 degrees, something like that. It's I probably have those numbers wrong, but it's something similar to that. But the water is kept at a very, very, very regulated temperature by a little thing that like sucks in water from the bottom of the pot, and then it disperses it out of the top. So it takes the cold water out, heats it up, puts it on the top, and as it cools down, it just basically recycles the water just keeps the food at a very regulated temperature. But that essentially cooks the steak without it losing any of its juices, any of its moistures, any of its anything. And then you take it out of there. You slap it on.
You know who's a big fan of sous vide? Is actually Mr. Angry Twinkie. When I was hanging out with him in Vegas, he was telling me all about it and tossing me recommendations on good sous vide machines. But yeah, the idea with the sous vide is you want to get the internal temperature to that food safe area. And then what you do is you can finish it off in a pan like this to get that good Maillard, that good crust. But also, you mentioned restaurants. What I'm doing right here is also what a lot of restaurants do. If you've ever wondered why restaurant food just seems better, just seems more flavorful, A, is they probably salt it more, and B, is they probably douse it in butter, which is what I'm doing. So we got a good Maillard on this guy, and now we're basting it in butter and a little bit of garlic. I'm going to transfer this bad boy to the cutting board, and then I'm going to start working on my steak sauce, actually.
Excellent. So for the folks at home who don't know, what he's describing with the Maillard is that's the browning process that happens on the outside of the steak. That is what it's called when something fries and gets all fatty and brown and delicious. So it happens on steaks, it happens on toast, it happens on anything that you cook that browns on the outside is the Maillard process of when the molecules do their little crazy angry thing, like it happens with caramelizing onions. Any time a food turns brown, it's a Maillard process. So that's what he's talking about. And when you got a really good Maillard in a steak, the entire outside of the steak is that crispy, crunchy, golden brown, and it's just fucking like on point. So it looks like Zenith is doing a good job. And a big part of cooking to get Maillard is like the frying process. So that's using the fats and the heat in conjunction with each other. You got to be careful though not to burn the butter. So you have to keep the butter at a temperature that is below whatever makes the butter turn brown. Once the butter turns brown, it's too hot, and you have essentially lost all of the butter's like delicious taste and flavor and stuff. So I believe that's what Zenith is doing right now. That looks absolutely fantastic. Cooking in a cast iron, by the way that Jesus intended. So that's freaking beautiful, broski. I like it. I like it. So we've got so I would like to learn how to cook meats well, Mrs. McGettit. Is there anything that you want to add on the cooking meat stuff after Zenith and I have said it? It basically sounds like most of us want to like, you know, perfect the meat cooking skill. We all talked about meat in some way. Me and Zenith with the steaks in the medium rare and stuff, and then you with essentially the same. Is there anything you want to add, Mrs. McGettit, before I go ahead and toss it on over and read out some of the stuff the audience members have spoken about?
Nope, not really. I mean, everything. Honestly, I'd love to be Master Chef and be just amazing at cooking. Like if you've seen Food Wars, yeah, I'd love to accomplish that level.
Oh yeah, they got some good talented people over there on Food Wars. That is a dangerous show to watch, because then you get like stuck in the man, I want to eat delicious food and I want to do it now, and it's like, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I watched it, I would always be like, I'd get super excited and jazzed, and I'd get like halfway through setting up, and it's like, yeah, fuck this shit. I've lost my motivation. I'm fucking out of here. I'm gonna order.
It becomes way too much. Yeah, you're like, oh, I gotta
yeah.
set all this up and do all this and then do all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's for the I'm a novice and I get excited in the moment, and then as soon as that like excitement goes away, it's like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know any of this, you know. So that's the way that it goes. Let's go ahead and take a moment to shout out what the folks at home think over there in the comments. And thank you, by the way, Mrs. Producer, for highlighting these as we go through. You read my mind in that respect. So before we do that, actually, Mrs. Producer, we have someone to shout out who has joined us brand new. It is Mr. Paul Sachs, I believe, has joined us. Where is he? There it is. Oh yes. Oh, excellent. Thank you, Mrs. Producer. So we've got Paul Sachs has joined us, and he's asking if you're doing chicken fried steak tonight, Zenith. That is definitely what Zenith is all about, is that chicken fried steak. He's actually cooking a 5-course meat-based meal, and it looks like is that garlic you're spreading around there, Zenith? I have no idea. We've got you you're muted right now.
This is a mixture of crushed peppercorns, shallots, and some garlic in there too. Primarily the shallots are there for the flavor and kind of the body. The garlic is the aromatic, and the peppercorns, they also give a great aromatic too, a bit of spiciness, and they should be ground finely enough where you don't actually get a crunch from them, worried about cutting your teeth. But I am actually getting ready to mix this with a little bit of cognac and some heavy cream. This is going to be our au poivre sauce for steak. It's a very classic steak sauce, and we might even get a little bit of fireworks with it.
Excellent. I like it. I like it. Alrighty. So while he is finishing that up, Mrs. Producer, can you bring up my question again for the folks at home who did not hear this or read this earlier? The question that I asked all of our panelists here is, what cooking skill would you want to master? We have all answered, and most of us are talking about the meat stuff. And it seems like we've got a couple of similar things over there in the comments as well. So let's go ahead and roll on through those. Looks like first up we got Mr. Falcon Crypto. I would like to be a better grill master. That is respectable, good sir. I do not have the patience for grilling. That is I take my hat off to you, sir. That is an excellent choice. Being a better grill master is that's a good skill to have. For those of you guys that don't know, I learned this recently. The difference between grilling and barbecuing is the temperature and the time. I never knew that barbecuing is like slow and low heat and that grilling is fast and high heat. That was something that I was like, that I learned like just a couple months ago. So that's totally awesome, Mr. Falcon Crypto. He's going to be a better grill master. Next up in the chat, shout out, or in the folks at home, we've got Mr. Paul Sachs. He wants to become a better sushi roll master. That's a fun skill too, man. You get those little bamboo rolling things. You slap the seaweed down on top of it, throw the bed of rice on it. The only sushi I've ever made was California rolls, you know, like the imitation crab and the cream cheese and some cucumbers and stuff. But that would be super cool, Paul Sachs. I fucking love it, dude. My father says that he would like to prepare and make anything carnivore. So again, we love eating, you know, animals. Holy shit, that's pretty cool. It would be really cool, Zenith, if you like caught yourself on fire live on stream and we got to see your first aid skills.
No. Let's not do that, Will. Come on now.
No, it'd be good proof of concept. We would know exactly how good he is at remaining competent under pressure. Well, one can only hope. That was fucking crazy cool, though, Zenith. I like it.
Yeah, what you're seeing is the burning off of the cognac. It's a high alcohol whiskey. Imagine it's like a super fermented wine, pretty much. It should give flavor. We're burning off the alcohol, and then after this, we're gonna add the cream.
Okay, that's cool. I like that, dude. There's a process to it. I like that you burnt it before you added the cream, because wouldn't make a lot of sense to burn it after the cream. That's great. Got the
real quick here.
Yeah.
We got a new person who just popped in. He said, and in response to you, Will, Zenith catching himself on fire would be good for ratings, I guess.
That it would be good for
ratings. So thank you, Niles, for joining us.
Thank you. Welcome, Niles. It's good to see you, amigo. Yes, it would be good. It would be great for ratings. Oh my God. Oh, he had another comment just a little bit above.
Yeah, I don't know if that one's respectful or not. It's up to you.
I'll talk about that one in a little bit. I'm talking about the anime guy when we talk about that one, grilling Kenpachi. We're talking about the anime gentleman and no one else. Wink, wink. So let's see what else do the folks at home want to learn how to do good. My good friend Arceus would like to be able to make some of the food that their grandmother made for them. That is excellent. Yes, it's always good to be able to make babushka's food, or what's another word for grandma? That's the Russian word for grandma. Murmur is the I think that's a Swedish one for or morfar. That would be awesome. It's really cool to see lineages make the powerful foodstuffs and things. So I would love to actually, I should go check out, see what my grandmother knows, and see if I can snag any recipes off her. I know that my mother makes a lot of my grandma's recipes and things like that. So absolutely fantastic. So for the folks that just joined us, if you did not hear the question before, the question that I asked the rest of the folks at home, Miss Producer, if you could bring it up again, is what kind of cooking skill would you want to master if you could master any kind of cooking skill? This whole book is all about just like mastering these 4 basic elements. And like it never occurred to me just how simple cooking and making food and preparing food really is. And like just these 4 elements, if you can master these 4, then everything else just kind of branches off after that. So that's pretty awesome. Mrs. Producer, can you bring up the Crypto Crossfire talking about carne asada? I believe is the thing that he wanted to. Yes, so carne asada easy, but there's also brisket that takes time. So I believe this is in So I want to say carne asada is grilling and brisket is barbecuing. I could be wrong on that one, but I'm not positive. As far as I understand, brisket is a food that you have to cook for a long, long time because it's a tough cut and it doesn't do the same thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows any differently, but my understanding is that brisket takes a long time to cook. And then Niles talking about I'm able to grill Kenpachi just fine. that is absolutely correct. I do like to grill Kenpachi from time to time. For those of you guys that don't know, Zaraki Kenpachi is one of the strongest characters in anime, as I learned from this most recent Whiskey Wednesday where we talked about our anime show. So I'm able to grill Zaraki Kenpachi apparently with his sword that he just bludgeons people with, and all its little notches cut out and stuff. So good to see. Mr. Zenith, can you give us an update on what you're doing, and then I'm going to go ahead and launch into the next question.
I absolutely can. So we are finishing up our poivre sauce.
Can you describe what an poivre sauce is?
It is cream, cognac, shallots, peppercorn, and it is a very, very classic steak sauce.
Where does it come from?
I have given
French.
It is slightly French, yes.
Okay.
But yes.
Oh, that is
voila.
Beautiful. So an poivre sauce, and so it's creamy, it's sweet because it's got onions, it's got that good acidity with the the cognac and also onions and the fat
shallots, yeah. Oh, dude, this is amazing. The cognac, it actually gives a nice little like tang to it. And then I'll be honest, I think I may have overcooked the steak slightly. We're closer to medium than medium rare, but overall the buttery, the garlic, the cream, the tang, and just the savoriness of the meat, and it's cooked. It's a really good slice of meat too, so it's very tender. And oh man, this is my first time actually having this. This is fantastic.
It's not your Walmart ribeye. Excellent. I love to see it, dude. That is great. What cut of meat is it? Is it a ribeye?
This is a ribeye. Yep.
Yeah, what's the grade on it?
I think it's just like Angus. So the Wagyu we were doing earlier was actual like American Wagyu. This is just like USDA choice. It's either choice or prime. I can't remember which one. But my God, the peppercorn gives it a good bit of spice too. This is fantastic.
Yeah, because ultimately, like the amount of fat content that's in the meat itself generally does come from the grade. So like you have select. Select is kind of like just the right, but then you have choice. It's supposed to be like here in America. That's kind of our normal. We tend to raise cattle to usually be right around the choice. But then you get prime, and once you hit prime, that's like the best cattle, the best ones with all the marbling in there. Then there's a grade called Wagyu, and that Wagyu is just a whole nother class all itself. But that's a Japanese only cow. And there are some breeds that are like in America and Europe, but they don't compare to the very specific way that you raise a Wagyu cow out in Japan.
Yep, they like massage them and stuff, feed them nothing but the best grasses and do all that fancy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely wild.
That is excellent. Well, cool beans. All right, we're gonna go ahead and launch into the next question. Let me see. So I have these written on my notepad over here. Let's take a look. All right, so. Ooh. Here's a good one. All right, so we're gonna talk about our feelings, guys. Right. So Samin talks a lot about trusting your senses in cooking. Do you follow recipes exactly, or do you like to experiment and trust your gut? And why or why not in both cases? Nate, I will toss this to you / Mrs. McGettit because I think that you guys have some sort of combined answer here with her doing most of the cooking stuff. And I'm going to ask you, Nate, like actually when you were back in college, I'm gonna take it back. I'm gonna focus in on you. All right, we're attacking Nate here. When you were in college, did you follow recipes? Did you make it up as you go? Did you just take the pizza out of the box, throw it in the oven? Like, what was your style?
I know Cassie's got a good answer on this one. So for me, back in high school, when I was cooking for myself, as well as early years outside of the home, I was actually starting to get into cooking a bit. The reason why is because I was really bored with any of the recipes that say, hey, do this, do that, do that. I'm like, cool, this is a good meal. Awesome. But instead, what I started noticing is that I could just taste like different types of seasonings, different flavors on different oils, and just different types of like lemon juices, things like that. You know, throwing in a bit of tequila on, say, like my tacos when I was making those. And I noticed that there was always different tastes whenever I did something like that. So I started taking those base flavors, tasting them first and being like, now what would that go good with? Does this work with whatever it is I'm trying to make currently? And I ended up making a lot of really, really fun stuff that actually was pretty good. And it was all just kind of like by tasting. I'm like, yeah, I bet you this would blend well with that. And it's just kind of did it in my head, right? But that all changed, you know, once I met a woman.
Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked, and then I took an arrow to the knee.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So you you know, and that kind of tracks with your personality. You know, you went a little bit, you colored outside the lines, you did your own thing, and you followed your heart, followed your gut, and like, you know, I'm sure that like recipes are great from, and I think I can relate to you a little bit in this regard. Recipes are great for like a good like guideline, but I think I'm right along there with you with following your gut and
Yeah, you
maybe like,
actually you do get a point on that. That is a little bit like my personality, because like even like when I go to like say sing a song or something, right?
yeah,
There some usually people are like, oh, I'm gonna sing it just like how the artist originally sings it, and I have a tendency to try to start like trying to go outside the line and
yeah,
try and stretch it into something else, and then it gets to the point where it's like I'm just listening to the instrumental and just actually like singing it myself.
yeah.
And for someone that kind of bugs them a little bit because they feel like you should stick with the artist's original way of doing things. But I guess I do have a tendency to just be like, fuck the borders, fuck the walls, go
Yeah,
right through them. No rules here.
we were talking. So for the folks at home who are not privy to our Degen Roundtable leadership talks, when we all get together, Agent J said this one time that like we're basically all Type A personalities, which is like we basically all butt heads with each other. When we don't all agree on something, you guys should see the fun chats that we have. It's all in good fun and games and stuff, but it's like trying to get all of us on the same page when we're not like naturally there already. Basically, all of us butt heads. So I have a feeling that that a lot of the folks on the panel are going to basically say the same thing, that we like to that we like to basically, you know, follow our gut and say, you know, fuck the instructions and stuff. But I want to hear Mrs. Producer, because I'm not entirely sure what to expect from your answer. Cass, when it comes to cooking, do you generally follow the instructions, or do you follow your heart, follow your gut? How do you approach cooking, and why?
I absolutely follow my instincts on it. I have Nate has been really impressed with, like, say for example, we'll go out and buy frozen pizzas because when we're having our drinking nights, I have made it a rule that I do not cook on drinking night because I have burned myself. I have knocked pans onto the floor. Like, drunkenness and cooking do not mix with me. So I do not cook if we're drunk. So we'll buy frozen pizzas and, you know, toss one of those in the oven and have that on drunk nights. But I never just cook them as they are right out of the box. I always add something. Usually it's garlic butter to the crust, and then like extra pepperoni, because if you buy frozen pizzas, you know, there's never enough pepperonis on those stupid things. And then a little bit of extra cheese. See, there we go. Hi,
Yeah.
Zenith. You got the pizza.
Well, you are so right. A, not enough cheese. B, not enough pepperoni. But also, like, I'm the guy that's trying to do fine dining tonight, but like, this is a go-to, baby. Like, don't knock the
pizzas are
frozen
great.
pizza.
Bro, that's the
Those pizzas are great.
Tostino's one, man.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I got the Tombstone. We got the Red Baron. We got them all except the Giorno.
Mrs. Producer, can you continue on your thought? You were on a roll
Yeah,
there.
for sure. Those are the best pizzas in the world, by the way. I absolutely love those crusts. I don't know what they do to those things, but
Yes.
holy crap, those are amazing.
Oh, it's probably cocaine.
Oh God, yeah. There you go. Just cocaine all over in there. But no, I always add things to any recipe I make. They're usually when I'm like really looking into like a cookbook and I'm like, oh, let's try this out for the first time. I will cook it to what they recommend in the actual thing, just to like try it to start it out. But after like the first time or two, I always end up adding extra stuff or just like trying my own thing. We recently went and Nate asked ChatGPT to whip us up a bunch of recipes for like just to switch into healthier eating. And one of them was for salmon. I don't like salmon. I have never liked salmon. it has a certain like fishy taste to it that I just don't like, and I usually don't get from other fish. You know, it's like there's a little bit more of a salmon's not my friend, basically.
Fair
So
enough.
we pulled up that one, and it's like do this and do that, and I'm like, all right, cool. And I've learned how to make that. So now that I've made that, I think I've made it 3 times, just as the recipe suggests. And then now it's like, oh, roast broccoli with it. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to throw some asparagus in there too. And let's see how that turns out. And so I haven't experimented with that one too much, but I'm starting to. I always add everything. I never make something completely by the book, basically ever anymore. I just always find something to do with it, some way to try something new. Sometimes it works fantastically, and sometimes it's just gross. But yeah. So
Do you like the salmon now that you've made it, or is it
yes,
still
actually,
no bueno?
this particular recipe really worked for me.
Okay.
I think the difference is, and this is something that I kind of already knew because Gordon Ramsay talks about it, but I also didn't really know how what's the word I'm looking for? How much it can truly matter. Because I've always used like I go out and buy jars of like ground up garlic, and it's like garlic salt, garlic powder, whatever. It's that super super fine like garlicky whatever like salt basically. I've always used that, and this recipe is like, oh no, grind up the garlic by hand, and I'm like, anytime I've had that where it's like just slice up the garlic and make it super teeny little things, I'm like, that's way too much work. No, I'm just gonna use this ground stuff over here, pour it on, it'll be fine. I did it this time mostly because I got for our Thanksgiving turkey, which I go off of Gordon Ramsay's recipe, and he's the same. He's like, ground down the garlic, do it yourself, don't use the powder. And like, all right, cool, fine, whatever. For this particular thing, because Nate loves turkey so much, I will do that. So I got like this little thing that grounds it up. It's really easy to use. So now it's like really easy to do this because I don't have to sit there with a knife and meticulously try and chop it into like these itty bitty little chunks. I've been doing that.
Pencil grinder
So
one?
is it what?
Is that it? Does it look
One
like a
more time?
pencil sharpener?
No, not at all. It's
Okay. I'm thinking
it's
of
like
different
it's like a cheese shredder, but it's a really small version, and it's just got like this little like weight. So you put the thing in the little like hole, and then you put the cap on top, and you just shred it back and forth, and it just shreds it down, just like little shreds of cheese, basically.
Okay. Okay.
And so I did that for the salmon, and then use real lemons because I always use lemon juice. Like you get those little lemon juice things at Target and Walmart, and they're super super cheap. Like you buy a lemon and it's like the same price as one of those juicers, and the juicers last you way longer. But I went everything fresh this time, and oh my god, I think that's what made it so good because I don't like salmon. I've had lemon garlic salmon 100 times, never cared for it. It just never worked. The only salmon recipe that I have enjoyed before this was one that was like it had a marmalade on top of it. So you boil down like orange marmalade and a couple of other things, and then you spread that on top of the salmon, and that was really good. This is the first time I've made like a garlic lemon salmon that I was like, okay, yeah, this is awesome. I love it. And I think it's like this is the first time I've really experienced that those fresh ingredients really did make a big, big difference to me. Usually it doesn't matter that much to me. I'm not really that picky, and I'm a little bit like, I need to go faster. But that kind of taught me like, hey, slow down. It does make a difference. So that was really cool.
That's awesome. Yes, and that's super relatable. Like I haven't quite got to the point that you're at yet, but I'm starting to get there. It's like this is my first time actually buying a lemon. I was joking like when I held this up earlier, but I literally this is my first time ever buying a lemon was today to make this steak. Just literally so I can cut it and squeeze it over the steak. So like 79 cents for a tiny little garnish to put some acid on a steak before I consume it or something. But it's like I'm curious to see how doing the thing that is logical, like buy the fresh ingredients and it tastes way better. How much if you had to put a number on it, right? Like it's 2 times better, it's 4 times better, it's 20 times better. What number would you assign to using fresh ingredients versus using pre-prepped ingredients?
10x better.
10x better?
I've tasted a major difference for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Cass?
I'm gonna go with like 50.
50?
Much higher
Holy
value.
shit.
It's just like I said, I have never liked salmon until now. And then I made it this way, and it's like I wanted to make it again. I wanted to have it as a regular meal. I went out today and bought more salmon because we use it up that quickly because I got a big bag, from Sam's Club. It's already gone, so I went and bought more today because like that's how quick it went. It was a game changer for me. Like when I go from something that I adamantly just don't like and will not eat because I'm like, yeah, I never manage to like it, even though I keep trying. I have it at restaurants and stuff all the time. I keep making it in different ways, and it's just like, nah, I don't care for it. To go from that to be like, I actually want to eat this, I'm like, yeah, it was a huge deal for me.
I'm gonna do a quick shout out to a wild SJ for telling me about the t.me/Hex Foodies group. For those of you guys that don't know, Hex Foodies, they're the guys that are super into growing all their own vegetables, raising their own beef, having chickens and stuff, and like doing everything from scratch. None of the store bought, none of the everything. So like, part of me wonders like, what's the difference between this lemon and a lemon that I grow in my own like garden or whatever? Because like I've had tomatoes that my mother has grown before, and then like, you know, I've had store-bought tomatoes, and there's a fucking world of difference. And so like having store-bought tomatoes versus like store canned tomatoes or store like pre-packaged tomatoes or whatever, you know, you saying there's like a 50x difference in the final product. It's like, I wonder how much, like, how far down the road have we come for all of us who use like prepackaged foods and pre-prep things in the pursuit of convenience and like fast timeliness, right? Like, how much more expensive would it be to go and get like the individual ingredients? How much more of our time does it take up? You know, like, what is the cost, and then what is like the end result investment, and like what's the maximum thing that you get most of your goals accomplished? So these are the things that I think about from time to time. I want to toss the question over to Mr. Zenith. And the question is like, and this I'll go ahead and copy paste the same question in for the audience into the chats as well. But Samin talking about, you know, trusting your senses in cooking and not necessarily needing to rely on recipes and things. Zenith, do you follow the recipes to a T? Do you follow your gut? How do you go about in your cooking?
It is a combination of both. So obviously, like this is a freaking beef Wellington. I've never made beef Wellington before. By the way, let's see how it.
Real quick, because there's probably
traditionally it is the sirloin. It's a very holiday dish, but it's also very fancy. It's also a Gordon Ramsay special. Shout out to Gordon Ramsay. But it's a very, very tender roast of meat. You create a duxelle, which is like chopped mushrooms, some shallots and butter, a little white wine, and then you literally lay that across prosciutto, and then you take your roast, you put it, you wrap it up, and then you put it in puff pastry. This is effectively just like croissant dough. So it's super flaky, and it's layers of dough, butter. So you get a really, really flaky texture. By the way, let's give her a crack open and see how we did.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, wow.
See this. Can you hold it up?
I don't know if you guys can hear that.
We can hear everything coming through your headset, just so you're aware.
Oh, beautiful.
There we go.
There we go. Look at that nice red center. I temp checked it. This is about 130. So technically, it's a little closer to medium rare than rare, but this is a very tender cut of meat, so it's going to be a-okay. And overall, though, it smells immaculate. The crust is flaky. It's crunchy, and it's super rich. By the way, the steak au poivre was super rich as well, and a nice silver bullet actually helps cut through that a little bit, I gotta say.
At some point, Zenith is going to become sponsored by Coors Light.
Maybe, but
that looks pretty damn good.
And I'm totally ruining it.
That's okay.
Oh boy!
You need a sharper knife.
You got to cut slower too. I think.
Well,
that'll help
this is a serrated knife, so we'll see what we can do. Yeah, it's serrated.
Oh, okay.
All right, we'll try it again.
You need one of those.
A little bit slower. I think that'll help you.
Show the camera the one you already. Oh yeah. Look at that go. Slicing through like hot butter straight through a knife.
God, this is like
I'm hungry.
Yeah. Bring that up to the camera, would you?
Show this.
Let's see what we got here. Yeah. I know the lighting is kind of terrible on this one, but my gosh, like that is beautiful. I'm excited to get into this.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just realized you were holding it up to the cooking cam. I'll pull that one up. Go ahead and do that again.
This works.
No, yeah, this is.
Move it over.
Let's see the Z cooking cam.
Damn,
so I'm just going to
cool.
yank that off the screen.
That's great.
You have to fight me for this. Let's see how she tastes. Let's get a little bit of all of it. So we got the mushrooms, the meat, the bread, the ham. I'm sure it's going to taste like $1,000,000, but let's find out. I've never ever had this before in my life. I'm really excited.
We got Arceus Cacico in the comments saying, "Just eat it like a burrito."
Arceus has got a point there.
Yep.
It's very rich and earthy. I'm imagining a lot of like dark brown with like warm, and it's a little bit of the flaky in there, but like you really get the meat and you really get the mushrooms. The mushrooms for this recipe are a brown mushroom, not like your normal white mushroom. So they usually have more nutty, more earthy tones, and that's what I'm definitely getting in this. Sometimes you can actually a lot of the recipes I was looking up, they do some sort of red wine reduction sauce to pair with it. But like, my gosh, this meat is tender. It is perfectly cooked. Like, this is phenomenal.
Did you use a tenderloin for that?
I did not use a tenderloin because tenderloins are freaking expensive, but I did use a filet mignon, which is pretty much a smaller version, slightly different, but damn close.
Yeah, fillets for the most part are just kind of like a cut up tenderloin, where the tenderloin is like the whole thing. Ask me where I know this. I was literally the lead for meat cutting in a Sam's Club after they deleted my manager position, and then I decided to get out of the lead position out on the floor during the daytime. So I went into the meat room, and yeah, we cut up all the types of meat.
You know, that's interesting. So another member, shout out to another member of the Degen Roundtable, Dace Northal, used to actually work for a butcher. So you guys got a lot of stuff in common there. That is kick ass. You guys could probably talk about like meat cuts all day long. There was I was doing a tower job in Nebraska, and for those of you that don't know, Nebraska is big on two things. One is corn and the other is beef. So like there was a farmer nearby where our tower site was, and my boss went and bought an entire beef from him. So it's like, fucking I don't know how many pounds of meat a cow is, but like it's a lot of fucking meat. I remember he told us he took his trailer up there and filled like one of those mobile freezers full of meat and stuff, one of those like the garage ones or whatever. But it was freaking crazy. And there was a butcher shop right next to where our tower was at, where me and my coworker Levi were staying. And man, we would go to that butcher shop all the time and just get like the fresh cuts of pork and like the fresh ground and packed sausage and like the best fucking steaks I've ever had. Like I wasn't any good at cooking them, but like you could tell that the meat was fan-fucking-tastic. So that was a cool experience. So that's neat to know, bro, that you used to work at a butcher shop. That's awesome. We should.
I never knew that knowledge would come in handy this long down the road.
Yeah, man. Like it's fucking nuts what we learn in life. That like it comes back at some point. So that's super cool. I wonder if Dace would be inclined to hop on a show at some point, or maybe we can coax it out of him on a Telegram Tuesday to get him to talk about like meat cuts and things, because he and I have discussed that before in the past on Telegram. So that's freaking kick ass. So Zenith, your answer to the question was that you do a little bit of both. You follow the recipe and you kind of listen to your gut. That's sort of what Samin talks about in the book. When do you think you made the switch from? So
there's two answers for this one. Number one is going to be my personal jacked up palate, which is I don't like fruit. You can imagine that there's a lot of things that have fruit in them, like pretty much every dessert ever. There have been so many perfect chocolate cakes that have been ruined by someone thinking they could make it better by drizzling strawberries on it or something. It's like, no, chocolate cake is perfect. Leave it alone. So a lot of stuff I leave out, just ingredients that I don't like. I'll try to find substitutes for some of the similar things, whether it's like a saltiness and an acidity thing or a savory thing. Try to substitute it, or you just leave stuff out if you don't like it. That's A-okay. But when it comes to a lot of times when I don't follow the recipe is I'm looking for cues about when things are cooking. My setup is not going to be the same setup as the person that wrote the recipe. I'm not using the same pans. I'm not using the same heat source. I'm not even in the same altitude. I'm at 8,000 feet here. Things bake very differently here at 8,000 feet. You got to understand that going in. Yeah. Also, water boils at a lower temperature for me too, because the atmospheric pressure is reduced. There's differences in things. So a lot of times when I go off recipe, what I'm doing is things will take longer or they'll go faster than what the recipe says. So that's when you really have to use that experience, that intuition to know when something is like properly cooked. So like when is the filet mignon perfectly medium rare, even though the puff pastry is starting to get a little too brown or something. Or even like when I was boiling or doing the mushroom duxelle for it, I think I probably added a little bit too much butter because I also reduced the recipe myself. And then I maybe added a little too much white wine. And then it said I'm supposed to wait until the white wine reduces. And it's like, yeah, let's take about 60 seconds. It took me about 5 minutes. As long as I kept the temperature at the correct point, I wasn't burning anything. And then at the same time, I was still accomplishing what I was accomplishing. So it's when you read recipes, there's almost like a subtext to some stuff of understanding how you want things done, understanding this step says cook to this point. This other step says finish it the rest of the way. So you don't have to finish it the whole way in step one. Understand that the different steps of cooking, the steps are going to be different, so they take different times. Like my non-stick pans heat up way faster than that cast iron does. Stuff like that.
Of course.
But,
Thermal
yeah,
mass,
so
right?
it's exactly. It's stuff like don't pay attention to the timing so much. Pay attention to the thing in front of you. So like for that steak, you could try to time it every time, but it's going to be different because the literal piece of meat is different. The thickness is different. Your cast iron might be different today for some reason. So what you should look for is you should, as the book talks about, actually listen. Like listen to the thing that you're putting it in. If you hear that sizzle, if you hear it sizzling or stop sizzling, that's good or bad depending on what you're going for. And then also steam. Steam is a big one too, because that's just the release of moisture. If you're trying to dry something out, when you stop seeing steam, stop cooking it, because after that you're just going to burn it. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's good, man. What are the things for the folks at home you guys can pay attention to when cooking meats? Is the firmness. The firmness of the meat indicates how done it is. So that's one way to check. Nate, you had something you wanted to say there. Go ahead and hop in.
Oh yeah, actually, so this was a little trick of my mom's that she taught me is when you're cooking chicken and you want to make sure, like a whole chicken, and you want to make sure that it's not raw in the middle. All you do is you simply make a single stab, right, and let the kind of juices drain out. And once those juices stop draining pink, then and it drains white, you're good to go.
Okay. Oh, that's actually pretty. So like you're basically checking for blood to see if all the like the Okay, that's pretty brilliant. I like that.
Yeah.
That is good.
All because chicken actually is a very dangerous one. You do not want to eat chicken raw. Like red meats or fish. Fish you can straight up eat raw. Unless there's worms in it. You got to be real careful about that. But you can when you catch them and you clean them, you can see whether they have, the okay worms to eat, which are the black ones, or the yellow ones, which are very dangerous for humans.
Remember, this is not health or financial or nutritional advice.
There you go.
We're just a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, but red meats have a tendency to be okay to eat more raw-ish, not straight off the bone, obviously, a little bit cooked, right? But if it's still bleeding, it's fine. But chicken, oh my God, chicken, you need to be extremely careful with that because if they're even slightly raw, you can get some extreme food poisoning, and that's where salmonella goes absolutely wild.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is Nate doesn't like medium rare chicken.
No medium rare chicken.
No, I do not.
I don't know. You don't like the salmon lemon flavor.
No chicken sashimi or shushimi.
No chicken sashimi. Definitely not.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Nate was talking about there, when it comes to the beef, that's one of what I think is, look, if I've talked about my friends doing this, we have to do a meat tier list. I think that beef is an S tier meat. There's so many good cuts. It's so versatile. You can eat it raw pretty much. You can even cook it correctly if it's well done. There's so many ways to do it. And if you have the opportunity, I would highly recommend try something on the rarer side. You might be surprised. It's going to be way more tender. It's going to be a different flavor. It's going to be a different experience as well. If you ever go to a Brazilian steakhouse and they let you try something blue rare, that is pretty much like they get something steaming hot, slap it on each side just to get some grill marks on it, and then serve it to you. It is a new experience. It's not for everybody. I personally think it's fantastic.
I'll admit the last time that happened, I did have a blue filet mignon, and the thing cost me $100, and that's basically what they did. They had it just way too cold in the middle. I don't know if it was just too cold and they screwed it up. But I got to the middle portion and it was just chewing. And I'm not going to lie, that is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine of constantly chewing, even though you're correct. There was a certain taste that was nice and it was very tender. But again, the chewing like it was gum, I hated that. I ended up having to spit that last part out. However, there was a particular area just before I got to that core where in between on the outsides of that whole time was the best freaking filet mignon ever, because it had the crispy part on the outside all the way into the extreme tenderness up until the core, which was just straight blue. And yeah, that was too much for me. I didn't like that. But
yep, if you're gonna eat red meat and you don't want to like go through the chewing process, you have to make sure that you get like a correct amount of it. Like this is about probably a teaspoon or something like that. So if you get a red meat and it's just like you're chewing a shit ton, just like cut it in half in your mouth and then like eat it in halvesies. Super duper easy. It's like the most delicious gum you've ever had. So those are my thoughts. We don't have any chat shoutouts. Let's hop on over into the next question. Okay. Ooh, here's a good one. All right. So Samin traveled to a whole bunch of different parts of the world to learn about different cooking traditions. If you could learn to cook from any culture, which would it be and why? Do you guys have a specific culture that you would like to learn?
I've got 3 of them: Mexican, Japanese, and Italian.
In that order?
No, I think Japanese first. The way that they like to dice up fish and work with the rice, squishing it up like that and working with seaweed. It's amazing. Just making sushi. It's quite incredible. But then like the whole idea of like tamales and working with just flat breads out over in Mexico, like that's also fascinating to me. But then also going over to like the pastas and the different types of breads out in Italy, as well as the sauces that are out there. It's so fascinating to me, And I guess it's my favorite type of thing. I love raw fish. I love spicy food just all around, and I love tons and tons of seasonings and sauces. I'm a sauce guy. I'm a very saucy guy.
You like savory food then?
Yes, very much so. Cheese, butter, sauces, meat.
I like it. Very Wisconsinite. Very Wisconsinite. What about you, Mrs. McGettit? Do you have a type of culture that you would like to learn, or you would like to imbibe in the cooking skill of? Wow, that was a really terrible way to phrase it, but like, you understand the question, right?
Yes. I can't think of just one. I would love to learn how
Name a
to
few.
do. I would love to learn from those people who know how to make that puffer fish that's apparently extremely dangerous and very poisonous unless you do exactly the right things with it. But I'm not sure what culture that's from. Other than that, I mean, kind of what Nate already said, Japanese, Chinese. I would love to learn how to do like the hibachi grill stuff. It's a lot of fun watching those. Well, I haven't seen them in person, but I've seen tons of like YouTube videos and stuff on them, like just the way they cook that stuff, and just like they're flinging stuff around, but they're doing it perfectly. Like they know exactly what they're doing. What was that? Malaysia. Nate showed me this video of Malaysian food at one point and how they do it, and that looked fascinating. That looked really cool to learn. So I guess that would be a fun one. I don't know. I've got a lot, but I guess if I had to pick just one to put at the top, it would probably be Japanese.
By the way, shout out to Slide 180 in here. He said Japanese okonomiyaki is goated. If I have this correctly, okonomiyaki is kind of like a type of ramen that's also fried and almost served as like a pancake of ramen with just a bunch of like other just good stuff in it, like eggs and some seafood and a bunch of like green scallions and all this garnish and stuff and crazy sauces. If that's what I'm thinking of, agreed. That stuff looks absolutely fantastic. As far as me personally, I think that, I mean, in case it's not obvious, I enjoy cooking a lot, and I've been doing this for a hot minute now. But one of the things I would love to learn more about the classical styles of cooking, and the two that I'm really talking about is going to be French and Italian. I feel like I'm pretty good with Italian. I've done my fair share of homemade pasta making. Love making some gnocchi by hand. It's fun, but I really don't know a whole lot about the French cooking. Although I know it's a classic, it's a staple, and it should make you a better chef theoretically. I'm right there with Nate though. And Slide 180. I think the Japanese just have a style of cooking that just looks so phenomenal, and they just go so wild with stuff too. And granted, it's probably just because it's different ingredients, different taste palette, and they really lean into that umami flavor. But that one, although realistically one that I know almost nothing about outside of the few single number of times I've been to the restaurants, is Middle Eastern food. Like specifically, I remember I was with a work trip with some of my Coast Guard guys, and they took me to a Lebanese restaurant. Never been to one before. Absolutely phenomenal. Whether it's like the falafel or the pita that they throw on the side of the kettle, all the way to the kebabs and the meat and all the sauces and the pickles, and it's like, oh, it was amazing. And I could not tell you the first thing about trying to cook that stuff. So that's one for me.
Okay.
Actually, I thought of something like after I got done here. One thing that I've always really, really, really wanted to learn how to make, because it's so versatile and it's so amazing, and if you do it right, it's like the best thing on the planet, in my opinion, would actually be Indian food, and that is curry. I would love to learn how to master curry, because I just have heard and seen so much about it being just this art form. Like, you can add so many different things to it. It can be like the mutt of every different ingredient that you can possibly think of, or it can be this like perfect and pristine, just like exactly this and this goes into it, and it tastes exactly like this every time. So that's something that I'd really love to learn how to make.
Okay.
To what Zenith said, I don't think I've ever had any good Middle Eastern food.
I'm glad you guys bring this up. This is the one that I was going to go with, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Mrs. Producer, finish your thought, Nate, and then we'll talk about this.
Yeah, no, literally, it's just that I don't think I've ever had any good Middle Eastern food, and so that means either I haven't experienced good Middle Eastern food, or maybe that's just not what my taste buds like.
So the thing that I've got pulled up over here, this is doner kebab. Doner kebab has fascinated me ever since I learned about it, and this is a Turkish dish. For those of you guys that have never seen it, it's this big gigantic cone of meat on a shish. That the shish is the skewer, right? And the kebab is the meat. So this is layers and layers and layers and layers of beef or lamb or chicken or pork. But they stack all these, like, they basically get these these fillets of meat, and then they slather it with tzatziki sauce or some other, it's like a fatty tzatziki sauce, and then they throw it on the skewer. And then they do another one, and they throw it on the skewer, and then they throw it on the blah 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 blah. And it's basically just a rotating barbecue, or a rotating grill, excuse me. You can see on the back half here, there's the heating element, and it basically cooks the meat because it's rotating very slowly, and then they shave a little bit off of it with this big long fucking knife, and it falls into a plate. And this is where you get like kebab meals, so like shish kebab or gyros if you're in Greece, but it all originated from Turkey. So or shawarma if you get it from the Arab country, Greek gyros, Canadian dinar, Mexican el pastor. Like, these are all, it's all derived from the doner kebab. So this is the thing. This is the specific thing that I would love to learn, and it's incredibly impractical because it's like 50 pounds of meat. And it's meant for like fast food restaurants. This is actually the fastest cooking, like fast food healthy meat thing that there is. It's faster than burgers. It's faster than anything else, because it's constantly rotating very slowly, and they're constantly shaving it off. And then by the time that it rotates to the new side, it's like, hey, you've got freshly cooked meat there, and you can just keep going and basically doing this for like an entire meal period. So.
That's true. By the way, if you like garlic, you're going to like Middle Eastern food, good chance. And the cool thing about this way of cooking, my personal opinion, is that it's very efficient with what they do, because the meat is laid flat and placed on the skewers, and so you get the giant obelisk of meat. But then, by the way of you constantly rotating it and then shaving off, it's constantly cooking the in different layers too. So you're constantly getting new little brown bits that are full of that caramelization and that good crunch too sometimes. So that's one of the things that this method really excels at.
Yep.
And by the way, real quick, I do have one final course for the evening. Mrs. Producer, can I get a full screen, if you will? You may have been wondering, what are we doing for our final one? Well, surprise, it's meat. It is a nice T-bone. And by that, I mean this is a red velvet cake with vanilla frosting.
That's
delicious as all hell, man. Oh my god.
There you go.
Zenith, you really thought of everything when it comes to making this like meat course. This is fantastic.
Zenith,
Hey,
you're gonna have
I
to
know what
join
I'm
me in-
about.
I'm gonna take you to a special place in Lincoln, Nebraska. It is called Casa
Casa
Bovina.
Bonita, baby. That's in Colorado. I know all about that. I've spent many a child birthday at Casa Bonita.
Casa Bovino. It's the
Oh.
House of Steak, and I had a steak-themed 7-course meal with a friend of mine. Shout out if you're out there watching Compacty. But yeah, a Vietnamese friend of mine showed me this place, and we had a fucking. I'm positive it was a 7-course meal, and everything had steak on it, and it was like that was a fantastic place. But yeah, dude, like they had steak dessert, they had a steak styled drink. There was all the main course was steak, the appetizer thing was steak, everything was like steak, whatever. And it's like the whole they take like the glass off the thing and all of the mist like spills out like the dried ice in the water, whatever. It was crazy, dude. Casa Bovina in Lincoln, Nebraska. We'll have to go there. We'll have to go there after this bull run. It'll be a good time. Nate, that's
I'm
actually
down,
not
baby.
that far from where you're at. So it's probably maybe only about 5-10 hours from 5-10 hours from Wisconsin.
Actually, you got that. It's about 10 to 9 hours drive from where I'm at, because I'm kind of in like southern, Minneapolis, I guess. So that's sort of southern-ish Minnesota.
Yep.
But yeah,
that's where I bought my AK from, like basically Minneapolis. It was on the Wisconsin side of the river, so it wasn't in Minneapolis proper. But
I was gonna say, how the hell did you buy the gun out here? You would have to go through so much checks and balances.
I will plead the fifth. I got the weapon and it was legal, so there we go. That's all that I will say about that.
If it was
but
Wisconsin, then yes, we understand now.
Yep, it was Wisconsin.
There you go.
But, like my amigo that was up there was super cool that sold it to me, and I went and hung out with him for a weekend, and like we went camping on one of the fucking 10 bazillion lakes that are over there in Wisconsin. But dude, yeah, like that would Lincoln, Nebraska. There's not a lot to do out in Lincoln, but I'll tell you what, they got some good ass steakhouses over there. So shout out to all
That's
the
true.
Cornhuskers, all my Nebraska boys.
True. So, real quick notes on our final course of the evening here. First off, the idea for the T-bone cake came from my excellent assistant off camera here. She's been absolutely fantastic and was a great sous chef earlier, but recommended the idea. And then I didn't realize it until I was actually cooking the cake itself. In the book, the author talks about the difference between some drier cakes and some oil-based cakes. This is actually an oil-based cake. There is a cup of vegetable oil in here, and there's also the full continuum as well, because I didn't realize it until I was going through the paces and actually making it. But this calls for vinegar. There's vinegar in here on top of cocoa powder, on top of the flour, the sugar, and obviously the cream cheese icing. So it's really interesting, and it gives you that really well-rounded, full flavor taste. It's not like super chocolatey, but you get like hints. It's more of just like a really rich sweetness that hits you. And then the cool icing and a little bit of the tang of the cream cheese comes through. Gotta say, it's not my favorite cake in the world. Obviously, that's reserved for tiramisu, but like, damn good stuff.
Excellent.
That's what red velvet will do for you. Red velvet, it's like chocolate cake is very chocolatey, but red velvet has like a hint of it. But there's always like you always put something like tangy with it, aka like the cream cheese, the cream cheese frosting, right?
Yeah, either that, or you go for a nice espresso martini that my sous chef also made for me.
Excellent work, sous chef.
You got to thank her, because that would go so good, man.
Oh, it slaps, baby.
Good choice. All right, let's go ahead and toss it over. Let me take a look and see if we've got anything from the audience. We do have one new member has joined us. If there's anyone out there in the audience, I know that Slide 180 has given us. Actually, there's a couple people that have talked about the different cultures and the different places that they would like to learn about the cooking traditions and things. So if you guys have any thoughts, go ahead and write them down in the comments. If there is any sort of different world place that you would like to learn the cooking traditions of, go ahead and throw that in the comments and we will read it out. But let's go ahead and roll through some of the chat shoutouts and recognize some of the folks that have joined us since we last did some shoutouts and things. So we'll start off with my father talking about Italian pizza. He says Italy, true Italian pizza with the, you got to do this thing for the Italian stuff, is the best. That is fantastic. Yes, Father, as my dad loves pizza. So you're absolutely right, Father. Italian pizza is quite good. You guys can get a lot of good Italian pizza, really good Italian pizza in the New York, New Jersey, in that whole area. There's a lot of Italians over there, and they like to fight with the Chicagoans about what's the best type of pizza. And like, hey, to each their own. I prefer the Totino's, so and the Little Caesars because it's hot and it's ready. So that's my my smack talking there. But my father would definitely learn how to cook some Italian pizza and stuff. So that's absolutely fantastic. As Josh mentioned earlier, and Zenith shouted him out. He's talking about learning, or Mr. Slide 180, I should say. He speaks about wanting to go and learn about the Japanese. Miss Producer, can you pull that up? Yep, Japanese. So Okonomiyaki is goated. And you had said that this Okonomiyaki, that's ramen, right? That's like the fancy ramen? Yes.
I believe it's a type of it.
I went to a fancy ramen place in Las Vegas, actually. Shout out to my good friend Aaron in Las Vegas. We went to where was it? I can't remember the ramen place. But that place was fucking awesome, dude. We had some delicious ass fucking ramen after like a day of axe throwing. It was great. I fucking love the cool ass the cool, like, there's so much shit you can put in ramen that I just never thought of. It's like, yeah, we'll throw some fucking eggs in there. We'll throw some beef strips. We'll throw some scallions, some all sorts of things, like
little chips and noodles. There's a lot of stuff you can put in ramen. It's pretty crazy.
It was a good time.
Yeah, Will, slight correction here for us. If I can get a screen share, Mrs. Producer, please and thank you. We have okonomiyaki. It is not ramen based, but it is kind of like a savory pancake that I mentioned before.
Wow,
it's a famous street food, and you put a lot of crazy savory stuff on there, and you get after it. It looks fantastic.
Cabbage pancake. This is the reason why I want to learn freaking Japanese. Like, look at this crazy stuff. What the hell? Who thought of that?
Cabbage pancake. That's a good one. Huh. So cabbage is just I was gonna say it's sauerkraut without the vinegar, but I guess cabbage is its own vegetable. That's interesting. Okonomiyaki. So a cabbage pancake. So you have like a starchy vegetable base. Well, I don't know if cabbage is starchy. You have a fibrous vegetable base, and then you throw all sorts of toppings on it. That's pretty cool, Josh. I freaking love it, dude. Good selection over there. We've also got Mr. Hexkin Lost in Asia saying, it's breakfast time out here, coffee and the blaze. Thanks for the show, Degens. Good to see you, Hexkin Lost in Asia. Our good Air Force friend hanging out over there in wherever the hell over in Asia he's at, where it's good morning. So good to see it, broski. We love it. We love it. We've also actually, Mrs. Producer, can you bring up Funk Master Hex? Throw a little maple syrup in it. We've got our good friends up in the Great White North, Mr. Funk Master Hex. That is freaking awesome, dude. Yep. Throw some maple syrup in it. You're absolutely right, Mr. Julian. What if Funk Master Hex was Julian this whole time? Because Trailer Park Boys, I'm pretty sure that happens up in Canada. So I could totally see that. If Julian's a Hexican, that's fucking awesome.
It's entirely possible. Let's not discount it just yet. It's entirely possible.
We love you, Funk
He's a movie
Master.
star.
If it happened to be Julian, that would be something that I think would be just absolutely hilarious. But, whether you're a Julian or not, you're fucking awesome, and we love you. So thanks for joining us, amigo. And I think that does it for the chat shout-outs and the answering of questions and things. So, gentlemen and ladies, we've covered a lot of the principles of the stuff in this fantastic book. Any final thoughts before we go ahead and move to closing? And then I got me and Nate and Mrs. Producer have to go run over to the effing Hangout and host that show as well. So it's going to be a long night. Let's go ahead and start with Zenith, and then toss it over to Mrs. Baguette, and then Nate, and then I will go ahead and finish this off and get us out of here. Final thoughts on the book or any of the synopsis as you've read it, and where can the folks find you and what you've got going on in the near future?
So as far as cooking books go, this is not just like a recipe book, which I really enjoyed. She does talk a little bit about some recipes, and there are some in the back of the book, I believe. But the primary thing that this book really teaches you is try to understand a balance of a dish, and then also how the different ways you can cook things and how you can prepare different dishes as well. So whether it's the heat section that's talking about heat transfer and like using oils versus how heat affects certain things and unwraps the proteins and stuff like that, or even how acid sometimes helps prepare the meats, and salt too. But I mean, there's a reason it goes salt, fat, acid, heat, which is if you have poorly salted food, it is just bad food. Let's be real here. Fat is great for mouthfeel. Fat is also its own cooking oil, which is really nice. Acid is a good balancing. And one of the things that I learned from reading the book is that the reason that acidic food is some of the most mouthwatering is because your body detects acid. And so it tries to release more saliva into your mouth to dilute it to protect your teeth. So that was an interesting fact that I learned out of this one. But finally, heat. Understanding how you're heating food is going to be very important to cooking more complex things and understanding how you can transform the food that you're cooking. Whether it's trying to get a good Maillard on a steak, or you're trying to do some ridiculous double boiler on a tiramisu so you don't oversee. You get a nice, good egg cream mixture instead of just scrambled eggs in a bowl with cream. A similar thing happens when you try making ice cream by hand, by the way. But overall, though, dude, phenomenal book. It doesn't get into a ton. It gets pretty deep on stuff. It's not like a full-on thermodynamic style textbook like some other like real heavy baking cookbooks are. But overall, like good stuff, well illustrated, and the audiobook was actually a good listen. So I got to say that much. Outside of that, though, folks, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at zenithdi. Did a stream earlier today with RH Max and Kong and our boy Brizology. We had a fun time talking over there about a bit of a viral tweet that had 10 reasons why we are bullish on Pulse Chain, or 10 things that would make us very, very bullish on Pulse Chain. Did that, and then outside of that, folks, we did our anime special on Wednesday. We did our cooking special tonight, and we have one more special in the week of specials. We have episode 69.420 coming up for the Sunday show this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, like all of our shows, by the way. But outside of that, yeah. Follow the show on Twitter, get inside the Telegram, get all your alpha, get some fun memes that we're going to make, probably of me almost setting myself on fire tonight, but that was controlled. I did that on purpose. I knew it was going to happen, by the way. But yeah, scan the QR code, hit the t.me that Will's going to give you. But other than that, gang, 2 out of 3. This has been an absolute blast. I am stuffed and maybe a little bit tipsy because this is my 5th drink of the evening, I think. So outside of that, pass it over. Mrs. McGinnis, what you got?
Okay, so we're doing thoughts on the books and where can you find us and everything like that, all the wrap up stuff. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so thoughts on the book. I did not get to listen to this one, but we are going to buy it. Nate and I have already discussed that we're going to add this to the cookbooks in the house, even though it's not necessarily a cookbook. It'll fit in with the other ones. So I'm very excited for that. I have been wanting to start elevating my cooking and kind of coming back around to that because it was something I started to do. And then like Will and I have discussed, cost and convenience kind of became more important than that. And now it's like, okay, well, after listening to Alan Chen, after listening to everything going on in this, after talking to all of you guys and like talking to, you know, the groups, the members of the Degen Roundtable, both on like our actual streamers and then just people in the Telegram about how incredibly important this stuff is and how much it can like change your health and improve your health. It's just become more and more prevalent that it is important and that, you know, we'll find somewhere else to cut back on the funds and start getting some of these better options. We can't do, you know, all of it. Like, it's not like we're going to be going out there buying A1 Wagyu, but we are going to be buying generally better ideas of things. Like Dr. Chen, one of his things that I heard from him, I think it was on his own channel, was that olive oils, if you get the cheap stuff, can be really poorly made. They substitute in like sea oils for it. So haven't looked too terribly much into that. But that was something I heard on his channel, and I'm just like, dude, so even the olive oil is bad for us now. Like, yeah, so there's so much in this, and there's just so much to consider and so much to think about. And learning about all this stuff is really just inspiring. And I mean, it's going to be difficult because it isn't cheap. And especially in America. I don't know if you guys have been watching any of the, who's that guy that Trump added to his cabinet for health? I can't remember his name.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yes, sir.
Yes. If
Make
you've been
America
watching
healthy.
anything that he's been talking about, he's according to him, America's become one of the unhealthiest countries in the world now. So we got to improve. Like, we got to do better. We can do better, but we've got to fight all of the powers that be who are, in my perspective, purposely creating these issues for us. So anyways, yeah, I think this book goes hand in hand with all of those concepts and everything that we've been learning about there. And then having Dr. Chen on, this is a really good timing to do this book. So Will, great pick. And so that's where I'm leading. I haven't actually listened to the book, but I'm definitely going to, and I'm going to buy it physically and read it physically too. So that will be kind of my plan. As for where you can find me and what I've got going on, you can find me in the Degen Roundtable Telegram. I don't have too much going on personally at the moment. We are doing actually the effing hangout though in about 20 minutes. So SJ and RG3 tagged us in to run that for them tonight. So we hopefully we'll see you guys over there. Myself, Nate, and Will are all going to be heading over. I think Zenith has other plans, but for sure you'll see the three of us, and then obviously everybody's ready to come or welcome to come join us. I've got the link in the description of the video already, so hop in there if you're feeling like it. Otherwise, we'll just go through, talk about whatever we talk about, read off some of your comments, and hopefully have a good night. Anyways, pass that on over to Will.
I have a quick question for the FN Hangout. Are we co-casting it on the Degen Roundtable, or are we hosting it on their YouTube channel?
Both. It'll be on both channels. Yeah,
Okay,
they added us so that we can stream it to both when we're hosting. So
okay, excellent. So for the folks at home, if you guys just want to sit here at the Degen Roundtable channel, like it's not going to be this exact video, but if you just click on the channel, like we're going live here in the
you'll see it. It's if you go into our channel, it's already scheduled on our side, so it'll be with the like upcoming thing, and it'll have the little timer on there, so it's up there.
Yep. So you guys can catch us here or catch us over there. Excellent. Nate, go ahead. Where do the folks find what do you think about the book or the synopsis or just the conversation tonight?
Yeah, so it's very interesting what the book talks about. You know how salt enhances and deepens flavors, right? Fats adds richness and texture, carries the flavors, right? Acid, balances the flavors, adds brightness to it. And how heat controls how food is cooked and develops texture. That last part right there really hit me because I was off of steak for the longest time because I always growing up had really cheap steaks and it was just chewy and just never really tasted very good. And this woman over here saved me and made a steak that was actually unbelievable. And ultimately what she did was she put a blend of 7 different types of spices and then slow cooked the steak for it's like 2 hours. And what I found out that does when I got into my meat working job is that actually it very slowly cooks and loosens up the actual molecules of the muscle fibers and turns it into what I love so much, which is basically like as soon as you put it in your mouth, it just melts on your tongue like butter. Imagine meat doing that, right? It's pretty crazy. And so then when you add in lots of different butters and spices and all that, it just has an extremely rich flavor. And then I'm a sauce guy, right? And I love spice. So you could say the acidic part is my buffalo sauce, which is my favorite to have with it. And it's absolutely incredible just how it all mixes together. It's one of my favorite meals. We have it on a consistent basis. And I'm willing to shell out, money for the prime steaks as many times as I possibly can every single time. So yeah, I really appreciate that this book really kind of goes into that. I'm going to be the receiving end of whatever this book has in it, because this one over here. So I'm looking forward to it. I am glad that she's starting to look into other types of meals. Dr. Shen, thank you very much for revealing that type of stuff when it comes to the olive oils. I've known that processed foods for a while have always been like a large company type of thing. And there are even these large parent companies like Umbrella or Overall put in all the cheap stuff, but sometimes they're like, oh, this is an organic thing. This is just the great value thing, right? But they're still just as bad for you because they still do the whole processing under this umbrella parent company. And so you do want to try and get away from that. And that's where I'm kind of in that process right now, trying to steer us a direction of getting us out of the cheapy foods, right? So with that being said, I am the Ascending Man, Nate McGettit with DJ Roundtable. And yes, you can go ahead and go over to my channel. I'm going to be dropping a video here tomorrow that will be talking about a cute little correlation that I found between Hex and Pulse. So yeah, just go ahead, go over there. I'll be dropping that tomorrow, as well as yesterday I did do a deep dive with Van again for the second time because they launched about the Project Pi. Ultimately, this is a multi money printer. I would say multi money printers all in one money printer. It's lots of different exit points. So if you are interested in that, go check it out. Other than that, it is time for us to go over to the effing hangout. We are going to be hosting. We're going to have a great time. I expect to see you guys over there. So come join us because we are going to have tons of fun. And I love Zenith over there doing his amazing dance.
Excellent. And before we end the show, we've got another gentleman who has joined us, none other than the very special Mr. Angry Twinkie. If y'all are looking for Angry Twinkies, this is where he is. Sous vide for the win. We were talking about sous vide earlier on in the show. Shout out to you, Mr. Angry Twinkie. Good to see you in the chat, broski. Again, for the folks at home who have just joined us, sous vide is where you cook a piece of meat or something inside of hot water that is set to a very specific temperature and regulated by some sort of temperature sous vide water cooking machine that you pre-program or whatever the hell. You just put it in a bucket of water and it does its thing. Sous vide works very well, and I'm very interested to learn more from this from Mr. Angry Twinkie. So we might have to do an interview on that at some point. Mr. Zenith, it looks like you got something to say. You've come off mute, amigo.
I do. So apologies for the breathing. We're doing the new setup tonight, and it's really, really strong. I was going to ask Will, did we ever get to your steak?
No, we did not. It's still sitting here. But I gotta go do the F hangout. So it's just going to be sitting there for a long, long time, and I'm going to end up cooking it after I'm done with F and hangout. So that is the way that it goes.
Actually, I did have one last thing to add.
I did eat some of it raw, though. What's up?
So my meal today is actually going to be a very interesting one that Cassie makes very well. And do you know what it is? It just so happens to be the original, the classic Minnesota favorite, the Juicy Lucy.
The Juicy Lucy. That sounds like something that demonetizes us. Can you describe what a Juicy Lucy is?
Okay, so it's a cheeseburger. Okay. But it has a nice thick burger burger meat in it, right?
Okay.
Yes. However, what's in the middle of that? Molten cheese.
Oh, so it's like an injected burger.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
I can
It was
see why
originally
it's called
created, and for the most part, is really only found in Minnesota. So.
Okay.
And she's
that
figured
does
out how to
sound
make
like
them.
a Minnesotan thing. That's excellent.
It's so good.
Well, fantastic. I'm very happy for you guys and your fantastic meal tonight. I'm going to be going hungry as we I don't know, maybe I can cook this thing up in the time that it takes for us to get the F and hangout started, but if not, no sweat. I will just wait. No sweat. And you can also eat steak raw, like we were saying.
Do it on
earlier,
stream,
like,
Will. Cook it on stream.
Maybe we'll see what's going on with the F and hangout if some people join up. We'll see. No promises, but that might be happening. I know I'm definitely going to sit down because I've been standing for the last 2 hours. I don't know if I can stand and stream much longer, so I got to move my monitor down to my desk spot here. But anyways, that's what's going on in the near future. You guys can find us over on the FN Hangout and also here on the Degen Roundtable. For those of you that are just joining us, again, this is the Degen Roundtable on YouTube. We also stream on X. You can find our socials at Degen Roundtable pretty much everywhere. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook even. I'm not sure if we stream there. I know that we're streaming on my Facebook right now. So shout out to all of my Facebook followers who are probably not watching this. I love you all. This is great and fantastic.
Just
we go live. Go ahead.
To answer that real quick for you. Well, we do stream on Facebook when it lets us. StreamYard and Facebook apparently do not have a very good relationship. They keep going back and forth on whether or not they want to cooperate. And currently it's kicked us back out. So currently we are not on Facebook, but I will try and get that corrected as soon as possible.
I've had to re-add my account to StreamYard a whole bunch of times, and that's just on my own personal. That's not on the StreamYard side. So it's just like I don't even know what's going on. But hey, you know, the internet bits and bytes are going to attack and fight with each other, and the companies are going to do their thing. So I just kind of chalk it up to, oh, I got to do more work. Okay, well, I guess I'll do this at some point. So good to know that StreamYard and Facebook are, you know, butting heads and at least keeping each other more what's the word? It's like iron sharpens iron or whatever, but it's like in the competitive way as opposed to in the loving way. So excellent. So that's what's going on in the near future with us here on the Degen Roundtable. You guys aren't going to see me at least for a week. I'm going over to El Salvador tomorrow. I fly out with a good buddy of mine. We're going down there. We're going to check out some property and do some marking and things and see what's going on over in Bitcoin country. If there's any El Salvadorians down there, you can catch me and my good friend over in El Zante in Berlin and in San Salvador. So that's where we're going to be hanging out. Anyone over there, hit me up on Telegram because cell service there is a lot spottier than the internet service. So hit me up on Telegram. For those of you that don't know where to find me anywhere, you can catch all of my socials based off of my Pulse domain Linktree, will.pls.fyi. I will go ahead and drop that in the chats right now. So again, For those of you that are listening, it is will.pls.fyi. You can find my Twitter. You can find my Instagram. You can find my Telegram. You can find my Facebook. You can stalk me on every single one of those platforms. Doesn't matter to me. I fucking love each and every one of you, and I'm super doxxed and don't care about it. The best way to reach me if you're trying to get in contact is on Telegram. You can find me in Telegram at t.me/Will Stevenson with the W and the S capitalized. The Stevenson is spelled with a V. That's all that I've got for things going on with the Degen Roundtable. Zenith, are you going to be hosting Sunday's show, or is somebody else going to be hosting Sunday's show?
It's going to be one of us, I imagine. Okay. So I plan on being here for it, and we still got to finalize our little touches to make it extra special. But yeah, I should be here for it.
Okie dokie. Excellent. Well, I am super stoked for you guys, and I'm kind of sad, actually, now that I think about that, I'm going to be missing this fucking special Degen Roundtable episode 69420, because that's like my whole fucking thing. But you know, I'm happy that you guys are going to be able to do some excellent streams. So we'll see if there's any cell reception wherever the hell I'm at down in San Salvador. Maybe I can hop on or something. But I guarantee that I will be skipping and cutting out as I do when I'm oftentimes traveling and things. So you guys can look forward to that Degen Roundtable special episode on Sunday, episode 69.420, coming right up. And then next Wednesday, do we have any special guests in the near future? I don't know if we had covered that or not.
We have the Mr. Shell Gates coming up in February, so stay on the lookout for him. And we are in the talks finalizing some other folks. We got them penciled in right now, so don't want to spoil it just yet. But yes, we do. We absolutely have special guests coming up in February. It's going to be huge.
It's going to be wonderful. We fucking love it. For those of you guys, again, that don't know, you guys can find us here streaming on the Degen Roundtable every Wednesday, every Friday, and every Sunday, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. That is midnight London time, and it's 5 p.m. Pacific. And anywhere else, basically, like, sorry, but you guys' time zones are not as important as those three.
7 Central, screw you, Will.
And 7 Central, yep, I'm in Texas right now, so 7 Central, sure thing. But yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific, midnight London, and, you know, Australia, maybe like 11 in the morning or something like that. I don't entirely know.
You're just going to skip mountain time? We're skipping skip it?
Mountain time.
It's not like nobody lives over there. Nobody lives over there or anything.
What percentage of the
At least one.
At least
one.
At least one.
Me, I'm mountain time.
Come on, Will, you didn't catch that? It was only dropping like 100 hints.
Fair enough. We've got, not only do we have Pacific time, Central time, and Eastern time, but there's also Arizona does its own little special time over there.
And Puerto Rico.
Yep. Puerto Rico and Arizona, they and Mountain Time, you know, there's all sorts of time zones. Anyways, 8 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Here at the Degen Roundtable, youtube.com/@Degen Roundtable. You guys can find us all over there. And that covers all of the shout outs and everything. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to thank all of you for spending your valuable time here with us on the Degen Roundtable. As Agent J often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we appreciate you investing it right here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Will Stevenson, but more importantly, you have been watching the Degen Roundtable. Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready, because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to degen responsibly.